10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, my friends. And thank you so much for coming to spend part of your whatever day this is with me, Sunday, January 7th with me. It is 4 p.m. here in New York on the East Coast, and it is snowing today. It's like really our first snowfall. Big flakes coming down, not a lot of accumulation yet, but I think the rest of you on the East Coast are also feeling the snow. This show is at 4 o'clock today, which is an unusual time for me, but since we have so many new friends from the Boston area, I didn't want to conflict with hockey today. So you're welcome. Rangers play at 7, Bruins play at 9, and we won't fight about that until playoffs. How's that? Sound good? I usually chit chat for a couple minutes in the beginning because it gives people a chance to get into the stream. And I was looking in here and I saw we have Manchester, New Hampshire in the house. I'm going to be covering also the Adam Montgomery trial, which is coming up in February. If you don't know about that case, it's a horrific case out of Manchester, New Hampshire, related to a little girl named Harmony Montgomery. It's a terrible, terrible case. I'm going to be covering that. So stick around. But I'm really, really happy to have so many people join me in this Karen Reed case out of Norfolk County, Massachusetts. And here we are. Thank you all for sharing it. And thank you all for your kind comments. And I saw some debate from the stream from last night in the chat about the whole dog bite issue. And I like how you guys are being really respectful to each other, not personally attacking each other. And those are my rules. That's the way we do here. That's the way we run. We run classy. So I'm not a fan of the cursey words, not tolerating any personal attacks, any bullies, any trolls in the chat. My mods are the best on YouTube, and I'm not afraid to say it. They are. A couple of them are retired law enforcement, and they protect me and they protect you from other people in the chat who might want to troll you. So this is a very friendly chat. We're known for that. Feel free to introduce yourself into the chat. They are very welcoming. But again, guide your actions accordingly because we don't tolerate foul language. We don't tolerate bullying. We don't tolerate trolling or personal attacks on me, my guests, my moderators, each other. We just don't do it. We do have some good bouncers as mods. We do. We totally do. So while we're chatting here, I was on Court TV on Friday night with Vinnie Politan on Closing Arguments. A lot of you might have seen that show with me and Jennifer Coffendoffer and another male defense attorney whose name escapes me right now. We really didn't get to talk a whole lot. And here's the thing about being on a show like Court TV or any show that you're invited on as a guest. You know what the topic is, but you're not given the questions in advance. So you're not able to really prepare anything. It's like doing this show like I do all the time, live for 2 hours. It's unscripted, raw, unfiltered. And it's not neutral. My channel's not neutral. For those of you who are new here, my name is Melanie Little. I come to you with 30 years experience as a New York State trial lawyer in state and federal court. I am also I'm a recovering lawyer, I call myself, although I still have my license. I have pivoted into doing other things like legal commentating, and apparently now I'm a YouTuber, and I'm here for you. I'm also a mother of 5, which gives me a whole lot of experience in a lot of other areas of life. And like my logo says here, I'm not a cupcake. I can't make everyone happy. I'm going to tell you my opinions. Just because I'm a lawyer doesn't mean that I need to be neutral on this channel. Some people have some very interesting opinions about how I should be running my channel. And somebody wrote in the comments about, I can't believe you're not neutral. You're supposed to be a lawyer. You're already convicting people without seeing all of the evidence. I'm not convicting anybody here. I'm not convicting everybody, but I want us all to look at the evidence together and come to our own conclusions about what may or may not have gone on here. And when I see other creators on YouTube saying things like, how could this possibly be a conspiracy? There would have to be hundreds of people involved in this conspiracy to make it work. There's no way that there's this level of corruption My response is really because I've seen it. I live on Long Island. I'm born and raised Long Island. I also lived in Colorado when I went to college at CU Boulder, Sco Buffs, and law school at University of Denver. So I can talk to you about corruption and cover-ups from the most personal of levels. In 1996, we had some body parts wash up here on Long Island. And in 2010, we had 4 women whose bodies were found along Gilgo Beach on the south shore of Long Island. They are known as the Gilgo Four. And we have been looking for a serial killer on Long Island since at least 1996. There are also some cold cases that go back to the 80s that I've covered as well. But being boots on the ground Long Island and having these legs wash up on the shore of the beaches that I would take my children to, and at the time I had 2 young children in 96 already, this is a very personal case for me. So in 2010, when the Suffolk County PD got the physical description of the last man to see one of the Gilgo Four girls alive as being 6'5" to 6'6" and driving a green Chevy Avalanche, and then because of police corruption, that tip was covered into the case file and covered up, and the FBI weren't allowed to come in and investigate. And Jimmy Burke, who was the chief of police in Suffolk County, was eventually convicted of a beatdown on a suspect in an interrogation room and covering that up. And then he went to jail. And then our district attorney, Tom Spoda, also went to jail for that whole cover up. I am here to tell you firsthand that it can happen. I have also seen it happen in the highest levels of the church. I handled the Catholic Church cases here on Long Island on behalf of at least 50 or 60 victims of clergy SA all the way back in 2002 when the church scandal broke. And you may remember, if you're from the Boston area, that it started in Boston, and that's where this scandal broke. And it was uncovered by some really amazing reporters who did some really great work out of Boston. And that was made into the movie Spotlight. Well, when that scandal broke, we had our own scandal break here on Long Island, and I handled those cases against the Diocese of Rockville Center. And yes, I am Catholic. So I have seen fraud, cover-up, corruption at the highest level. What we uncovered during the litigation of those church cases would blow your mind. It's all been published. Suffolk County Grand Jury issued a scathing report, a couple hundred pages long, but nobody ever went to jail. Nobody was ever criminally prosecuted. And the DA who was behind that, Tom Spoda, is now sitting in a jail cell in federal prison, or as we like to say, Club Fed. Not for that, but for the cover-up of the Jimmy Burke beatdown of the suspect that was in the interrogation room in a police department. I have also seen many, many other things, the third of which I cannot recall right now, but it was on the tip of my tongue. So that's a little bit about who I am. Long Island Strong, thank you for that. Oh, the Boulder connection. I also lived in Boulder for a very long time where I saw police bungling of a crime scene at a very high level because the killer of JonBenet Ramsey has still not been found. And that was going back all the way to 1995. So when people say, oh, this is ridiculous, it's impossible, it could never happen, it can happen, it has happened, and I'm sure it will happen again. So when Jennifer Coffendorfer comes on Court TV and I'm the other guest, that's the other thing. You don't get to just talk when you want to talk. I don't like to interrupt people. Vinny interrupted me in the beginning, but it's cool. I know Vinny, it doesn't bother me. But when I said something about the marks on John O'Keefe's arm being from a dog and clearly not from a car accident, Jennifer Coffendorfer clapped back at me and said, well, you know, all of a sudden everyone sees this picture and they don't have an MD and they don't have a PhD and they think all of a sudden they're an expert and there is no way that this happened. Makes my blood boil. So I may not have an MD and I may not have a PhD, but what I do have is common sense. And what I do have is 30 years of litigation experience, during which time I handled hundreds, if not thousands, of motor vehicle accident cases. And I can tell you with complete certainty that the marks that you see on the autopsy photos of John O'Keefe's right arm did not come from a low impact motor vehicle accident, pedestrian versus Lexus SUV. They just didn't. They just didn't. You can debate with me all day in the comments, but keep it classy, keep it respectful, and I'm happy to debate you. You can come for me in the comments. I have merch that says it. Come for me, in the comments, come for me, but in a respectful way. There were some people debating, Karen Reed was drunk, on and on and on and on. Maybe she was. Doesn't mean she hit him with her car. Doesn't mean it was intentional. Quite frankly, none of us know what happened because none of us were there. But what we do know is there's a lot of stuff missing. There's a lot of evidence that wasn't turned over for a year to 18 months. The defense was entitled to. What we do know is that Alan Jackson is now on the defense team. And we called him smooth as butter last night. He's smooth as butter from LA. He handled the Kevin Spacey case, one of them anyway. He handled, I believe, Phil Spector. I want to say a lot of other high profile cases. And it's going to be a very interesting trial if it gets that far. Because now, my friends, now the FBI is involved and they're investigating the investigation. So, because so many of my viewers do not know all about the Karen Reed case, because although I've been following it behind the scenes, I've never done a show about it until I was invited on Court TV because I had gone toe to toe with Vinny on Karen Reed a couple days before when I was on Profiling Evil. So now I have a lot to say about it, and you're not going to be able to keep me quiet. Because here's the thing, when Jennifer Koffendorfer said on the show that I was on, and please do not bash her personally, okay? If you disagree with what she said, that's fine. She said, in defense to what I said, who is Karen Reed anyway? Who is Karen Reed? Why would they even frame her? Who is she? I submit to you, my friends, Karen Reed is you. Karen Reed is me. Karen Reed is my sister. Karen Reed is your sister, your mother, your daughter. That's who Karen Reed is. And if this can happen to someone like Karen Reed, assuming that she did not hit him with her car, and that is what caused her death, then we should all be very, very afraid that this could happen to anyone. And because Karen Reed has the means, meaning the money, to defend herself against this, she's able to afford attorneys that are going to be able to fight for her. If she did not have the resources, she would be sitting in a jail cell right now, 2 years later. So think about that. So what I want to go to do today is I want to go back to the beginning because so many people are not aware of this case. If you're outside the Boston area, you may not know it. And you know what? I've got international viewers. I had people emailing me last night from Scotland who have been watching this case very carefully. So not only is this now becoming a national story, thanks in large part to YouTubers who have got the story out there. And I'm not a drama channel, so I'm not going to get into the side drama on this because I really want to stick to the legal documents because I'm a lawyer and that's what I do. There are certain YouTubers who have been out there from the beginning fighting for Karen Reed because nobody was listening. And guess what? Now people are listening. Now people are listening. So let's start from the beginning and let's go back to the investigation from the top. Let's look first at the witness statements that were given immediately following the incident, which was January 29th of 2022. Then we are going to look at the probable cause affidavit that Michael Proctor signed off on, and that was dated February 2nd of 2022. And then we are going to look at the witness statements that were taken after February 2nd of 2022. And if we had hours and hours and hours, we could go into a lot more than that today, like the motion to recuse the judge who may have some personal ties with some of the players in this case or some of the witnesses in this case and how that was denied. And there's so much here that I don't want to get caught in the weeds right away. But trust me when I tell you, I know everything, not as much as a lot of you guys know, because a lot of you guys live there and you're really armchair detectives to the highest power. And congratulations to you guys because you really have, I don't want to say exposed, but you have exposed a lot of stuff. Listen, Canton, Massachusetts is a small town. Those who live there know it. It's something like 80 or 90% of all of the police officers in Canton were born and raised in Canton. Am I right about that? Is that the right percentage? But that's a little bit odd, don't you think? And I back the blue 100%. I do. I back the blue 100%. And that's why I'm here to back John O'Keefe tonight, because John O'Keefe was a police officer. So really what this is about is justice for John O'Keefe. And whoever it is that is responsible for his death, I think that we all want justice for John O'Keefe. And so we shouldn't be afraid to look at the facts and to question them and to question some of the witness statements. I'm not accusing anyone of doing anything. I just think we need to take a little closer look at the facts of this case and the witness statements, and we can decide for ourselves, can't we? So let's do that. Let us do that. Thank you. And yes, I'm going to say the name one time, Turtle Boy, Turtle Boy, Turtle Boy. Yes, he is a journalist. Aidan Carney is a journalist out of the Canton area. And he did a deep dive investigation into this case. I don't know at what point he got involved in it, but yes, Canton could be any town, USA. Any town, USA. And while I can't condone all of his methods and all of the things that he did, he was very vocal about it and he brought a lot of attention to this case. And that's why we're all here and talking about it now. So he gets credit for that 100%. But I don't want to sidetrack us into that. I don't want to sidetrack us into that drama because we just want to stick right now, today. Let's stay within the guardrails of this case and of the court documents in this case. And let's look at them. But 100%, Aidan did shine a light on this case. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay. Canton could be any town, USA, and Karen Reed could be you or me. We're going to leave that there for now. So here are the things that are uncontested about this case. On the evening of January 28th, 2022, Karen Reed and her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, who was a Boston police officer, met some friends in the town of Canton, and they were all drinking. Sometime after midnight, they were all invited back to the Alberts' house, Brian and Nicole Alberts' house, for an after party, if you will. At that time, there were at least 10, 11 people inside the house. Karen Reed drove with John O'Keefe to the Albert house, which is the 34 Fairview Road house in Canton. She says she dropped him off. He went inside and she went home because she had stomach issues. She sometimes lived with John O'Keefe not far from this house. And John O'Keefe was the guardian or adopted dad to his niece and nephew, who he adopted or took guardianship of after his sister and her husband both passed away. So Karen went back to the house because the children were there. She didn't want to leave them home overnight. And the next day, when Karen went back to the scene with Jen McCabe and Carrie Roberts, two other people that are witnesses in this case, John O'Keefe's body was found at approximately 6:04 a.m. on the front lawn of the Albert house. Those are pretty much the uncontested facts, although the defense is going to say that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car intentionally now, because now we're looking at murder charges upgraded from manslaughter, and left him there to die in the cold. The defense obviously has another theory that he went inside the house, something happened, and he wound up on the front lawn at 6:04 a.m. Let's take a look at the investigation that occurred immediately after the incident. So the first witnesses to be interviewed by police were Brian Albert, Jen McCabe, and Matt McCabe. And they were first interviewed on the 29th of December 2022, which was the date of death of John O'Keefe. So let's take a look at their statements. And sometimes you just need to bear with me for a moment or two because I'm a one-woman show. I don't have a producer. I don't have a tech person. But what I do have is common sense and the legal experience to try and break it all down for you. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Oops. Mods, I'm on Ethernet. So if it gets glitchy, let me know and I'll switch over to the Wi-Fi. I was a little bit late for you today. I hate being late, but I had to redact some of these documents because I didn't want, I'm not here to out anybody. I'm not here to give you anybody's personal information. We're just here to look at the actual documents together and go through them for today. And the first thing that we are going to look at is the January 29th, 2022 interview with Jen McCabe. You can see the letterhead here is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of State Police in Canton. This was an interview that was conducted by Trooper Michael Proctor. Remember that name because, oh, is it better now? It was a little glitchy. All right, let me know. I'll keep an eye on the comments. But, you know, FiOS, Wi-Fi, not the greatest when it's snowing here. So just let me know. All right. Oh, thanks for liking my earrings. Appreciate you. All right. Trooper Michael Proctor, remember his name because he's going to come up a lot in the during the course of this case as being someone who perhaps may have close personal ties to the McCabes and the Alberts. So keep that in mind. Note this is also dated April 6th of 2022, so I'm not quite sure why it was typed up that late, but I have questions. And here we go. On January 29th, 2022, at approximately 6:04 a.m., the Canton Police Department received a 911 call for a male party John O'Keefe discovered unresponsive outside of 34 Fairview Road. Canton Police, Fire, and EMS responded to the scene. Canton Fire and EMS were dispatched to 34 Fairview Road for an unresponsive male discovered outside in the snow, and CPR was in progress. Canton EMS transported the victim to Good Samaritan Hospital, where he was determined to be deceased. Prior to being discovered, the victim was at Waterfall Bar and then traveled to 34 Fairview Road for a gathering with friends. Present at the Waterfall Bar and the residence on Fairview Road was Jennifer McCabe. Sergeant Buchanan and I met with Jennifer at blank, that is Jennifer's address, on January 29th of 2022 at 11:30 a.m. and agreed to speak with investigators. Two, Jennifer and her husband, Matthew McCabe, arrived at the Waterfall Bar in Canton Center at approximately 9 p.m. on Friday, January 28th. At the Waterfall, they met a group of friends for some drinks, food, and watched a live band. At approximately 11 p.m., John O'Keefe and Karen Reed entered the Waterfall Bar from C.F. McCarthy's bar. Jennifer and John have been friends for a long time and met Karen when the two started dating 2 years ago. John walked into the Waterfall wearing a baseball hat, jeans, and sneakers. Jennifer observed Karen walk into the bar holding a drinking glass with a vodka mixed drink inside. She left C.F. McCarthy's with. Now remember, this statement that I'm reading to you now is all things that Jennifer McCabe told Trooper Proctor during this interview the same day as John O'Keefe's body was found. Jennifer stated there were no arguments amongst Karen and John or anyone else inside of the Waterfall. Jennifer stated John and Karen did not appear to be overly intoxicated when they arrived. Keep that in mind. That is also important. As the band was cleaning up, Brian Albert invited everyone back to his house at 34 Fairview Road, Canton. As everyone began to leave the Waterfall, Jennifer observed John and Karen leave together. John texted Jennifer at approximately 12:14 a.m. asking where to. Jennifer responded to John's text with the address 34 Fairview. Jennifer spoke with John at 12:14 a.m. and provided him the address. At 12:18 a.m., John called Jennifer to inquire where exactly the house was on Fairview Road. 3. While at 34 Fairview Road, Jennifer observed a large black SUV on the street outside of the house and went to the front door. The black SUV did not pull into the driveway, but parked on the street by the entrance of the driveway. Jennifer observed the black SUV parked out front and texted John, "Hello, pull up behind me," at 12:31 a.m. Jennifer texted John again at 12:40 a.m., "Hello, where are you?" and then again at 12:45 a.m., "Hello." When Jennifer sent the last text to John, she observed the black SUV drive away and assumed Karen and John went home. Jennifer stated John did not reply to any of her text messages. Jennifer stated she first observed the vehicle parked on the street by the driveway, facing in the direction towards Chapman Street. Jennifer then observed the vehicle travel along the road towards the left side of the property in the area of where John was discovered in the morning. Jennifer and her husband left the residence at approximately 1:30 a.m. and went home. This is paragraph 4. At approximately 4:53 a.m. on January 29th, Jennifer received a call from John's niece, Kay. I'm not going to dox the children. I do not know how old Kay is. Maybe someone in the chat knows. As I said, I don't know every single detail about this case, but I know enough to talk to you about it. Karen was on the phone, hysterical and looking for John. Karen told Jennifer that she went home alone last night and last saw John at the Waterfall Bar. Jennifer had to correct Karen and told her they left the Waterfall Bar together and went to 34 Fairview Road. Jennifer told Karen to come to her house on blank street and they will go look for John together. Karen arrived at Jennifer's house in her black Lexus SUV. Jennifer stated she drove Karen's car back to John's house where Kerry Roberts met them. While driving back to John's house, Karen stated to Jennifer, now remember, this is statements that Jen McCabe is telling Trooper Proctor. Jen McCabe says that Karen says, "Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?" Karen also told Jennifer about a broken taillight on her black SUV. Once Karen, Jennifer, and Kerry arrived at John's house, they looked at the broken taillight. Jennifer stated she observed a broken, cracked taillight, right taillight, to Karen's SUV. 5. Jennifer and Karen got into Kerry's vehicle to go look for John. Karen was in the back seat and Jennifer sat in the front passenger seat. Jennifer described the weather at this time as snowing heavily. Snowing heavily. What time does she say this is? Well, it's before 6:04 a.m. That may also be in dispute, how heavily it was snowing. Jennifer stated the first place they went to look for John was 34 Fairview Road. They traveled down Chapman Street and took a right turn onto Fairview Road. Just prior to the front yard at 34 Fairview is a group of trees on the left side of the road. Immediately passing the group of trees, Karen stated, "I see him." Jennifer stated with the heavy snow, her and Kerry could not see John and did not know what Karen was talking about. The three exited the vehicle and Kerry began wiping snow off John. Jennifer called 911 and Karen laid on top of him for warmth and stated, "Oh my God, did I hit him?" John was discovered on the left side of the property, the area where Karen's SUV was last seen earlier that night, with approximately 6 inches of snow covering him. There is some dispute about how much snow had fallen, but Jen McCabe told Trooper Proctor that it was 6 inches of snow covering John McCabe at 6:04 a.m. Jennifer stated Karen began mouth to mouth, and when she discovered John's blood on her face, stated, "Oh my God, do I have my period?" Using a cell phone application called Life 360, Jennifer was able to provide the following times: 5:39 a.m., Karen arrived at the McCabe's residence. 5:46 a.m., Jennifer, Karen, and Kerry arrive at John O'Keefe's house. 5:53 a.m., the three leave John O'Keefe's house, and at 6:04 a.m., they discover John outside of 34 Fairview Road. This is signed by Trooper Michael Proctor. What I find interesting about this is it is not signed by the witness. This is signed by the trooper. It also does not say what time this interview occurred in this report. It says who, it says where they did this interview at Jen McCabe's house. It does not say what time. Oh, yes, it does. Oh, sorry. It's right here. 11:30 a.m. 11:30 a.m. is when this interview was done. 5.5 hours after John O'Keefe's body was found. The next witness statement that we can look at. And I know you guys that there's another 911. There's another recording that has surfaced because apparently Karen Reed was on the phone calling John O'Keefe at the moment they pulled up and discovered the body. Karen Reed dropped the cell phone in the backseat of the car when she went running out, screaming bloody murder. And that call was recorded on John O'Keefe's voicemail. We're not going to talk about that call today, but if I can authenticate it, we may play it another day on the stream. But I did listen to it, and it's horrifying to listen to. She is blood-curdling, screaming. And in this recording, you can hear Jen McCabe calling 911 in a very, very calm tone of voice. It's very strange. That's my personal opinion. It's very strange. Now, remember, Jen McCabe was the one who was friends with John O'Keefe. She's the one who invited John O'Keefe over. Karen didn't really know these people. John was friends with Jen, right? So why is she not freaking out when her friend's body is now on the front lawn of her sister's house? Jurors do not leave their common sense at the door, my friends, and neither do we. Neither do we. Yeah. All right. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this because we have a lot to look at. So Matt McCabe was also interviewed on that day, the same day that the body was found. Let me just pull up his interview. We'll look at that. Matt McCabe is the husband of Jennifer McCabe. Jennifer McCabe is the sister of Nicole Albert, who is married to Brian Albert. That's the house they were at on the evening in question in Canton on 34 Fairview. All right, so this is Matt McCabe's statement. Again, taken by Trooper Proctor. The Massachusetts State Police, or MSP. Also, again, taken at the McCabe home. And this, let me see if this says what time this statement was taken. I don't see that it has the time, but can we assume that it was taken at the same time as Jennifer McCabe's statement? And a lot of people are saying they were interviewed together, which I would also find odd that they were not separated and interviewed, but my retired law enforcement friends in the chat can tell me if that is common, that a husband and wife who were witnesses, potential witnesses, would be interviewed together in their home. You tell me. And here is what Matt McCabe told Proctor. On January 29th, 2022, at approximately 6:04 a.m., the Canton Police Department received a 911 call for a male party. John O'Keefe, discovered unresponsive outside of 34 Fairview Road. Canton Police, Fire and EMS responded to the scene. Canton Fire and EMS were dispatched to 34 Fairview Road for an unresponsive male discovered outside in the snow, and CPR was in progress. Canton EMS transported the victim to Good Samaritan Hospital, where he was determined to be deceased. At the Waterfall Bar on Friday night, January 28th, and at 34 Fairview Road was Matthew McCabe. Sergeant Buchanan and I arrived at Matthew's residence on January 29th and agreed to speak with investigators. 2. Matthew has known John for approximately 8 years and met Karen Reed a handful of times. He did not know of any medical issues John may have had. Matthew and his wife, Jennifer, arrived at the Waterfall Bar at approximately 9 p.m. on Friday, January 28th. Matthew stated they went to the bar to have some drinks and food with friends. Matthew stated John and Karen entered the Waterfall Bar by themselves, and John was wearing a baseball hat with a curved visor. Matthew did not observe any arguing amongst John or Karen or with anyone else inside the bar. Matthew stated Karen was consuming a clear liquid he believed to be a vodka drink. As the night was winding down, Matthew went over to speak with the band as everyone in the bar was leaving. Matthew stated John and Karen left before him, and the only people left inside of the bar were the 4 band members and himself. Matthew left and got into his vehicle where Jennifer was waiting for him and heard her call John to invite him to Brian Albert's house. 3. While at 34 Fairview Road, Matthew stated he observed a big dark SUV parked to the right of the house. Matthew said he was making these observations from the front door. Matthew stated he looked out the front window and observed the same big dark SUV had moved to the other side of the property, approximately 15 to 20 feet. Matthew was not sure how long the vehicle was outside for, but did not hear any loud noises or screaming from inside. Matthew stated both times he observed the vehicle on the street. The headlights were facing towards Chapman Street. Matthew stated he observed tire tracks in the snow on the street in front of the house. Matthew described the pattern as a wave or V shape. Matthew stated the tire tracks went from the curb in front of 34 Fairview towards the neighbor across the street and then back towards the curb. The pattern of the tracks were consistent with making a 3-point turn. Matthew stated he did not see these tracks prior to the big black SUV arriving outside the house. He was also inside partying with his friends. He wasn't looking out the window the whole time. Okay, that's just, okay, I'm just going to call it like I see it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But I've got the Zillow listing of this house. So let me just take a quick look at this because I want to verify for myself that the front door of this home was solid and did not have windows in it. So just give me a second. It's snowing, right? It's winter. It's January. There's a storm door. So this house has a front door and a side door, which is to the right of the front door. But he specifically says he was looking from the front door. But unless that door was open and the storm door is closed, there's a window there. So I'm a little bit confused about what he's trying to say or where he observed these things from or these tire tracks, because that's the first I'm hearing about these tire tracks. So again, not signed by the witness, but signed by Trooper Proctor. Interesting. And again, this statement was not typed out until April 7th of 2022. I have questions. How long do they take to dictate their reports? And why aren't they signed by the witness? That's the way we do it here in New York. The witness signs the witness statement. Am I right? Where are my friends in law enforcement in the chat? I just want to go to some of the questions for a second. Thank you, Maureen, for your super sticker. I always appreciate you and your generosity. Also, Liz, thank you for your super sticker very much. It helps the channel. This is essentially a volunteer position. So I take all the help I can get, although I never beg for money like some creators do. I'm like, whatever, if people want to tip me, they can tip me. They don't have to, and I would never expect it, but it's free to be a member. It's free to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button below because you really don't want to miss anything. And the thumbs up also helps the video get pushed out by YouTube. There's a weird algorithm that I don't understand, but if I did, it would probably help a lot. So hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. Samantha, thanks for your super chat. Karen Reed is factually innocent. Thank you for bringing a larger audience to this injustice. A free Karen Reed. Listen, I'm just here to talk about the facts and to, again, spread the word. Something else I did a week or two ago. One of my viewers sent me a message and said, Melanie, please, there is a woman from Colorado Springs who allegedly took the lives of her two young children, age 7 and 9, and is now on the run. We need to get her picture out as quickly as possible. We need to find her. I did a stream immediately. My international viewers, we had no idea where she went. We thought she could be in Mexico or Canada. Her name was Kimberly Singler. Bottom line, everyone shared the video. Everyone shared the picture. 2 days later, she was captured in the UK. Actually, it was the next day, but they didn't report it in the US until the next day. So she fled from Colorado Springs to the UK, and because you guys pushed her picture out. So public awareness is a huge part of these cases. Thank you. Thank you for your super chat. A Rom26, Lawyers for Karen Reed. Hi, Laura. Thanks for your super chat. Hey, y'all. I'm just going to relax today and watch the live because I don't have enough Excedrin to get fired up. Just want to say how much I love our community. I love our community too, Laura. And I know that you get very fired up about this case. And the more I read about it, the more I get fired up too, because when I think that this could be you or me or one of our sisters, it's scary. Thanks, Paul Clank, for your super chat. A number one woman, Wonder Woman show. I know I need a producer. I need a chip. I need a chip. Like anybody watch the morning show? Jennifer Aniston has Chip. He's a producer. I need a chip. Joey just saying, oh my goodness, thank you for your very generous $49.99 super chat. You should have Olivia Lambo on as a guest. She is the queen of the court docs in this case. You will love her. She is in this chat at Olivia Nile. Olivia, reach out to me. Would I love to talk to you? The mods always drop my email in the chat, but if it's not up there right now, my email is fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. That's fanbase@mlittlelaw.com. And Joey, thank you so much for your generosity. Hi, Sharon. Thank you for your super sticker. I appreciate you. I saw you were crocheting yesterday while you were watching the show. Dino's Ghost, thank you for your super chat. If defense finds a group chat between Jen McCabe and both proctors, Michael, motion allowed, yes, we went over that yesterday, and Liz denied, can it be presented at trial? That's a great question. It's an evidentiary question that we would have to come across at the time, but if it's relevant and if its probative value outweighs the prejudice, it would be admitted. And the only thing the judge disallowed was Elizabeth Proctor turning over her device. But Michael Proctor has to turn over his device, and Jen McCabe has to turn over her device, and all of the messaging that's gone on from the date of January 29th, 2022 to the present. to the present. That could be huge, could be a bombshell, could be explosive, could be nothing. Innocent until proven guilty on all sides, right? That is our system, and that's what we have to say about that. Katie, thank you for your super sticker. I really appreciate you. And Bryce, I'm going to thank you for your super chat very much, but I am not going to opine on my personal thoughts about other creators. And thank you, though, for your super chat, but I don't think it's really my place to do that. I do credit him for bringing a lot of attention to this case, attention that otherwise might not have us here talking about this. So, yes, I may have to have a panel discussion on this case, Scott. And I thought about that. There are some forensics experts that we know that don't want to talk about this case. So we are going to find the ones who do. And that would be awesome. The third statement that was taken on the day of January 29th of 2022 is the statement of Brian Albert, the homeowner whose house this party took place at. What I also find interesting about this is that Brian Albert's statement was not taken at 34 Fairview. No. It was taken at the residence of the McCabes. Why? I don't know. I don't know why, but I have questions. And I think a reasonable jury is going to have questions. And so I think we need to discuss these questions. Now I just got to find Brian McCabe's statement. Where did I put it? I mean, Brian Albert. I'm sorry. I misspoke. Why is it not here? Hold on one second. Matt McCabe. All right. Well, it's okay because I know exactly where I can find it. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Talk amongst yourselves. Sleuthy Goosey on the case, as always. All right, I just need to make sure that this is redacted properly before I let you see it. All right, so here's the way this went down. Brian Albert went to the McCabe's house on the morning of the 29th after a body was found on his front lawn, during which time he never went out to check out the scene, despite the fact that he is a first responder and had invited this man whose lifeless body was on his lawn to his house the night before and never went outside during the crime scene investigation or during any of the time that the police, the EMS, and we're all out on the lawn. I don't know. I find that to be sus, curious. Call me crazy, but that's just the way I see it. All right, so here is the statement of Brian Albert. Let's make it nice and big so you can read it. This is dated April 7th, but the interview was done January 29th of 2022. This is the interview of Brian Albert at the residence of the McCabes, and it states as follows. On January 29th, 2022, at approximately 6:04 a.m., the Canton police received a 911 call for a male party John O'Keefe discovered unresponsive outside of 34 Fairview Road. Canton police, fire, and EMS responded to the scene. Canton fire and EMS were dispatched to 34 Fairview Road for an unresponsive male discovered outside in the snow, and CPR was in progress. Canton EMS transported the victim to Good Samaritan Hospital, where he was determined to be deceased. At the Waterfall Bar on Friday night, January 28th, and the homeowner of 34 Fairview is Brian Albert. Brian arrived at the McCabe's house on Saturday morning and agreed to speak with investigators. Now, Brian Albert, as some of my friends have kindly pointed out to me, was with a sergeant or retired sergeant of the Boston Police Department Detective Unit. He also may have been involved in the Fugitive Task Force. Nowhere is that noted in this statement. Nowhere in any of these first three statements that we're looking at was it mentioned that John O'Keefe was a Boston police officer. I don't know if that's detail that would not be important enough to mention, that John O'Keefe was a police officer. But in any event, it is not there. Brian Albert arrived at the McCabe's house on Saturday morning and agreed to speak with investigators. 2. Brian and his wife Nicole arrived at the Waterfall Bar at approximately 10 p.m. to meet some friends. Brian only met John O'Keefe a few times and did not know Karen Reed. Brian stated when John and Karen entered the bar, they appeared to be in a good mood, did not observe any arguing amongst the two or with anyone else. While speaking with John at the bar, Brian stated he did not appear to be intoxicated and did not speak with Karen. When Brian and Nicole left the bar to go home, John and Karen were still inside. Brian stated he did not know John and Karen were coming to his house and were invited by Jennifer McCabe. Brian stated he would have welcomed them inside if they arrived, but did not know they were coming over. Brian stated he did not see a vehicle out front of his house, did not know John and Karen were outside, and did not hear any loud noises from the street. That is the sum and substance of the whopping 2-paragraph interview of the homeowner, retired Boston Police Detective Sergeant Fugitive Task Force member that was taken by Trooper Proctor on the day that a police officer, a fellow brother police officer, was found lifeless on his front lawn. The emphasis, my friends, is mine. It's mine. Yes, Brian's wife, Nicole, was interviewed, but not yet. Not yet, because she was interviewed later. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at Proctor's probable cause affidavit, because in order to arrest a person, you need to have probable cause, right? It's part of the Constitution. And what is in this probable cause affidavit, which was filed on February 2nd, drafted by Michael Proctor, the lead investigator on this case, who's also a trooper, the Massachusetts State Police, is based on these interviews that he did and some other things. So we're going to take a look at that right now. This is the probable cause affidavit that was used to arrest Karen Reed 3 days post. Let's see. 29th January has 31 days. 4 days later, February 2nd. So let's take a look, shall we? But first, we need to go here for 1 second to thank some people. Thank you, Mermaid Mary. I knew you'd be great covering this case. Thank you for your super chat. Thank you, Bryce Jones. What law do you practice? I am a recovering lawyer now, because after I handled those Catholic Church cases, it just sucked the soul right out of me. But for 30 years, I was a civil litigator. Civil litigation. Lee Zika, thanks for your super chat. I feel like no law enforcement in this case ever watched a drama, movie, or TV about Boston police legal system ever. Ridiculous family cover-up story, Boston. There was a whole show about that called City on the Hill. Did anybody watch that? I don't know if it was on HBO or Showtime. I want to say Kevin Bacon was in it, which is kind of interesting, because this whole 6 degrees of separation, you know, how all these people aren't really related because it was somebody's brothers, sisters, friends, cousins, nephews, daughters, acquaintance, and they're not really, you know, I'm waiting for Kevin Bacon to just show up in the papers. Like, when is somebody going to mention him? But agreed. And you don't even listen. We don't even need to go by TV. We know from real life cases that this stuff happens. Happens in real life all the time. Thanks, NDF, for your super chat. Easy to tell you're a great lawyer, but not sure I believe you have 5 children. You look too young. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. It's a good ring light is what it is. That's what I say every time. Jade, thank you for becoming a new member. Callista, thanks for becoming a new member. And Margaret, thank you all for becoming a new member and for liking this channel enough to want to support me and become a member here. Scott McGinnis, nice to see you again. Shell Gaming here. Their actions at the bar are not pertinent. Ask Sergeant Albert why he didn't come outside to his front yard whilst they were removing his dying brother. Yes. Sheila, court reporter. Wow. I hope he didn't strain his memory with that succinct recitation. Does it strain credulity, though? Does it strain credulity that he would not come outside? Strains my credulity. I'll tell you that. I will tell you that, my friends. Sleuthy, Goosey, excellent point, my dear. Not much to ask him if his answers are, I don't know, they were coming and they never came in the house and I never saw a car outside. And he's an MMA fighter. Yeah, I forgot that part too. Christy Kraut says. And Colin Albert, who was also in the house, who's the nephew, was he also an MMA fighter too? I have questions. But again, we're not accusing anyone of anything. We're just trying to get to what really happened here. And according to 2 of the witness statements that we just read, Jen McCabe and her husband, they didn't say that they said that Karen did not seem drunk, right? They said that Karen did not seem drunk. And if she never came into the house, which is what they're also saying, how are they taking her blood alcohol level the next day and extrapolating it back to the time of this alleged accident? I ask you that. She didn't seem drunk. Nobody said it was like she was hammered until, the next day when she's going to say she seemed drunk, but that's coming later. So hang on to your hats, folks. Hang on to your hats. Oh, he's not an MMA fighter. He's a hockey player. Are we talking about Colin? All right. Okay. We're not going to dox anyone. We're not going to trash talk anyone. We're going to keep it classy and we're not going to defame anyone. We're just pointing out what some of the facts are. And these are the facts. According to the trooper Hagler, the only thing that can factually be determined is the case was mishandled, to say the least. Yeah. And look, JonBenet Ramsey, nobody's ever been caught for that. That case was bungled by Boulder Police Department from the second they came on the scene. And that was in 1995, and it still has not been solved, folks. So it can happen. This does happen. It does not strain credulity to think that this could happen. And this, my friends, this is the basis for Karen's arrest. Just want to adjust the mic for a second. It's off the fakakta, just like this case. Somebody said that. Fakakta, that should be the next shirt. That is a Yiddish term that means like a mess. I want to say it's spelled Fakakta. There's probably different spellings of it, but it is fakakta. Here is the probable cause affidavit filed on February 2nd of 2022 and sworn to by Michael Proctor, the lead investigator on this case from the Massachusetts State Police. I, Michael Proctor, being duly sworn, deposes and states the following is true to the best of my knowledge. One second. It doesn't let you can't highlight a PDF, so I can't, but in any event. Number 1, I, Trooper Michael Proctor, shield number 3863. I'm a Massachusetts State Police officer and have been a police officer since 2013. I am presently assigned to the State Police Detective Unit, the SPDU, at the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office and have been so since September of 2019. During that time, I've investigated and processed serious and violent crimes, including murders, suicides, sudden, suspicious, and unattended deaths, along with drug investigations. Through these investigations, I have participated in the execution of search warrants from which various types of evidence have been seized. I am trained in criminal investigation, including homicide/death investigations, crime scene investigation, collection of physical evidence, crime scene processing, and the investigations of such cases. I have received specialized training to obtain and analyze cellular telephone data and call detail records in support of criminal investigations. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminal justice from Anna Maria College. In addition to my assignment in the Division of Investigative Services, I have been assigned to the Division of Field Services, working in Troop C, Central Massachusetts, and Troop H, Metro Boston. Number 2, based upon information contained in the numbered paragraphs below, which are the product of my own investigation and my discussions with Massachusetts state troopers and officers with the Canton Police Department involved in the investigation, I submit that I have probable cause for an arrest warrant to be issued for Karen Reed, date of birth 1980 is all I'm going to give you there. I believe that evidence of the crime of manslaughter, a violation of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 13, negligent motor vehicle homicide, a violation of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 90, Section 24GB, and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death, a violation of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 90, Section 24(2), A and a half, Paragraph 2, exists, and seek an arrest warrant for Reed. Number 3, on January 29th, 2022, at approximately 6:04 a.m., Canton Police Department received a 911 call from a woman reporting a male party, John O'Keefe, found in the snow at 34 Fairview Road. At the time of the 911 call, there was heavy snow and the temperature was in the teens. Officers Saraf and Melanie were dispatched to the scene along with Canton Fire and EMS. Officer Saraf arrived on scene and observed 3 females waving at him. Looking at 34 Fairview from the roadway, the 3 females were in the left corner of the property. Officer Saraf observed the victim lying on the ground as 2 of the females were performing CPR. The 3 females on scene were identified by Canton PD as Karen Reed, Jennifer McCabe, and Carrie Roberts. Officer Saraf observed the victim to be cold to the touch, not breathing, and returned to his cruiser to retrieve his AED device. At this time, Canton Fire and EMS arrived on the scene and took over first aid. Paramedics transported O'Keefe to Good Samaritan Hospital in Brockton. O'Keefe was determined to be deceased several hours later by Dr. Justin Rice. Okay, let's just go back to this for 1 second. Canton PD is the one who gets the 911 call from Jen McCabe. She's the one who calls 911 from inside the car. He says in his report, at the time of the 911 call, there was heavy snow and the temperature was in the teens. I think there's an issue with whether or not there was heavy snow. We've seen some other evidence that there may have only been 2 inches of snow or a dusting of snow. So 2 officers respond from Canton PD, and Canton Fire and EMS respond to the scene. Officer Saraf observed the victim lying on the ground as 2 of the females were performing CPR. The 3 females on scene were identified by Canton PD as Karen Reed, Jennifer McCabe, and Carrie Roberts. Officer Saraf observed the victim to be cold to the touch, not breathing, returned to his cruiser to receive his AED device. And we already read that paragraph, so I'm going to move on. Number 4, Lieutenant Paul Gallagher, Detective Sergeant Michael Lenk, and Sergeant Sean Good arrived on scene moments after the 911 call. After the victim was transported to Good Samaritan Hospital, Lieutenant Gallagher, Detective Sergeant Lenk, and Sergeant Good began to search for any evidence. I'm going to assume from the prior paragraph that these 3, the lieutenant, the sergeant, and the 2 sergeants, from Canton PD. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you will. Respectfully. They discovered a broken cocktail style glass and multiple patches of red that appeared to be blood in the vicinity of the victim. Canton officers secured the glass and 6 blood samples as evidence. It's important for me to point out to you right now that the 6 blood samples were collected in red Solo cups obtained from a neighbor. I believe they were obtained from a neighbor. Don't come for me about that. But they were, in fact, collected in 6 Solo cups. I'm not a forensics expert, but I'm going to submit to you that that might not be the right way to collect blood evidence. And notice, that's all that they find. With a dusting of snow, a broken cocktail style glass, multiple patches of blood, 6 blood samples that are collected into red Solo cups. They remove the body from the scene to transport the body to Good Samaritan Hospital in Brockton, where he was pronounced several hours later by Dr. Justin Rice. And that's all they found. Keep that in mind. And this is Proctor's own sworn statement, okay? Number 5, on January 29th, 2022, at approximately 11:30 a.m., Sergeant Buchanek and I requested to speak with Jennifer McCabe, and her husband Matthew both agreed to speak with us. We first spoke with Jennifer, who stated her and some friends were at the Waterfall Bar last night in Canton. Jennifer stated her and Matthew arrived at the Waterfall Bar approximately 9 p.m. At approximately 11 p.m., John and Karen arrived at the Waterfall Bar together. John and Karen have been in a dating relationship for 2 years, and Karen stays at John's house most nights. Jennifer observed Karen walk into the bar holding a glass cup from C.F. McCarthy's with a clear liquid inside, what she believed to be a vodka soda drink. Jennifer observed John wearing a baseball hat, jeans, and sneakers. John and Karen were at C.F. McCarthy's bar across the street before going to the Waterfall Bar. Jennifer stated John and Karen appeared to be in a good mood and did not observe any arguing amongst the two. Jennifer described the atmosphere inside of the bar as friendly, and there were no arguments amongst any patrons. As the bar began to close down, everyone was invited back to 34 Fairview Road. Jennifer observed Karen and John leave Waterfall Bar together. As the group was exiting the bar, John texted Jennifer where to at 12:14 a.m. Jennifer replied with the address 34 Fairview Road. At 12:18 a.m., John called Jennifer to ask where the house was located on Fairview Road. While inside the residence, Jennifer observed a black SUV arrive in front of 34 Fairview Road from the front door. Jennifer texted John at 12:31 a.m., hello, and at 12:40 a.m. texted, pull up behind me. Jennifer observed the black SUV move from the initial place the vehicle stopped on the street near the driveway and then proceed to the left side of the property. At 12:45 a.m., Jennifer texted John hello and then observed the black SUV drive away. Jennifer stated they discovered John in the area where she last observed the SUV, left side of the property. At approximately 4:53 a.m., Jennifer received a phone call from Karen looking for John. Karen was distraught and drove over to Jennifer's house. Karen told Jennifer she last remembered seeing John at the Waterfall Bar. Jennifer informed Karen she observed John and her leave the bar together. Jennifer drove Karen's vehicle from her house back to John's because Karen was too hysterical to drive and had Kerry Roberts follow them. While driving to John's house, Karen stated to Jennifer, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Jennifer stated Karen told her about a cracked taillight on her vehicle. Once they arrived at John's house, Karen had Jennifer look at the cracked taillight. Jennifer described the passenger side right rear tail light as cracked. Cracked. Jennifer and Karen entered Kerry's vehicle to look for John. Karen was seated in the back as Kerry drove, and Jennifer was seated in the front passenger seat. Jennifer stated they turned onto Fairview Road from Chapman Street, and at the time it was snowing heavily, creating poor visibility. Jennifer stated just prior to 34 Fairview Road, there's a cluster of trees, and immediately Karen stated she saw John. Jennifer and Kerry were not able to see John and initially confused by Karen's statement. Jennifer stated Kerry began wiping snow off of John as Karen laid on top of him for warmth and then began CPR. Just want to point out one or two things here because it's hard for me to watch the chat while I'm reading. But I find it interesting. She's saying she noticed the rear tail light as cracked. She's not saying there was a chunk of the tail light glass or plastic missing. She's saying she noticed it was cracked. And I submit to you also that Ring doorbell footage or Ring camera footage from John O'Keefe's house shows a video of Karen leaving the house in the morning before she goes over to McCabe's. Was it McCabe's that she went to first? And she backs into John's car in the driveway. And I submit to you that may be how the taillight was cracked. So she's not saying there's any chunks missing. She's saying she noticed that it was cracked. And 4:53 a.m. is when she got the call. Jennifer got the call from Karen. Karen was distraught and drove over to Jennifer's house. She was distraught while she's backing up in the driveway to get out of there to go to Jennifer's house. She backs into John's car. There's camera footage of that. We've seen it. Why is Karen, who's sitting in the back seat, the first person to see the body? I have questions. Number 6. Sergeant Buchanan and I arrived at Good Sam Hospital to view the victim. I observed approximately 6 bloodied lacerations varying in length on John O'Keefe's right arm. We looked at that photo yesterday. We looked at that photo on Court TV on Friday night. I opined that they came from a dog, and Jennifer Koffendorfer said that I was crazy. And how dare I make that observation since I don't have an MD or a PhD? But I digress. The cuts extended from his forearm to bicep. Both of the victim's eyes were swollen shut and black and blue. I observed a cut to the right eyelid area of the victim. The victim's clothing, blue jeans, orange t-shirt, long-sleeved shirt, and boxer shorts were saturated and contained blood and vomit. I observed one black Nike sneaker with a white Nike logo on the side belonging to the victim. On January 31, 2022, which would have been 2 days later, Dr. Irene Scordi-Bello from the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Mashpee conducted the autopsy of John O'Keefe. Dr. Scordi-Bello advised of several abrasions to the right forearm, 2 swollen black eyes, a small cut above the right eye, cut to the left side of the nose, approximately 2-inch laceration to the back of the head, and multiple skull fractures that resulted in bleeding. Dr. Scordi-Bello advised the victim's pancreas was a dark red color, indicating hypothermia was a contributing factor. I have read, but I cannot confirm, that John O'Keefe's clothes were somewhere like piled up at the bottom of the hospital bed. They had not been properly bagged as evidence. I don't even think they were entered into the evidence log until months later. One sneaker. Where's the other sneaker? Nobody thought to go find the other sneaker. Nobody searched the house ever. 30 View Fairview. Nobody ever went inside and searched the house. I have questions. I have a lot of questions. I also have questions that this Dr. Irene Scordi-Bello, who conducted this autopsy, is calling these, what I submit to you, are severe lacerations to the right arm. abrasions. Those are not abrasions. And I don't need a medical degree to tell you the difference between an abrasion and a laceration, but that gives me pause immediately as to the qualifications of this doctor. I know there's doctors here. Ed, you're there. You saw the picture of that arm. Would you call those abrasions in any medical report? What say you, my friends? What say you? I have many questions too. January 29th, 2022 at approximately 12:15 p.m., Sergeant Buchanan and I conducted the interview of Matthew McCabe. It's Jen McCabe's husband. Matthew stated he has known John for approximately 8 years and met Karen a handful of times. Matthew stated he was at the Waterfall Bar on Saturday night and observed John drinking a clear liquid, possibly vodka. Matthew stated everyone was going to 34 Fairview Road from the bar. Matthew entered his vehicle and his wife Jennifer was on the phone with John telling him to go to 34 Fairview Road. While at the Fairview residence, Matthew observed a large, dark SUV pull up on the street. Matthew was looking out the front door and described the SUV initially parked in front of the house. Matthew looked out a window and observed the same vehicle had moved toward the right side of the property. From Matthew's vantage point, inside and through the front door, the vehicle was to his right or left side of the property, looking at the house from the street. Matthew's last sighting of the vehicle on Fairview Road was in the area of where the victim was discovered. Okay, well, if he was looking at through the front door, that means that the solid door had to have been open and the glass storm door would have been the way he had to look through the door because the door is solid. So if he's looking out the window and he sees the car pull up and she hits him with his car at that exact time, why didn't he see that happen? I have questions. 8, on January 29th, 2022 at 5:25 p.m., Troopers Matthew Dunn and David DeSico conducted the interview of Kerry Roberts. I don't know if I have a copy of Kerry Roberts' statement. I don't think I do. We can't look at that because I don't have it. At approximately 5 a.m., Kerry received a phone call from Karen stating that John did not come home. It was snowing and she was worried. Kerry met Karen at Jennifer McCabe's house and observed Karen to be hysterical. Kerry stated she believed Karen was still intoxicated in the morning and told Kerry she did not remember last night. Which is interesting because everyone who saw, according to these witness statements, everyone who saw Karen at the bar, the Waterfall Bar, which is the last place they were all together, said she didn't seem drunk. So maybe after she dropped John off, she went home and drank a bottle of vodka because she was mad and angry. I'm just saying. It's a possibility. Karen stated, this is what Kerry says that Karen stated, okay? So this is hearsay. Karen stated to Kerry, according to Kerry, quote, "I was so drunk I don't even remember going to your sister's last night." End quote. Jennifer's sister lives at 34 Fairview Road. And that would be Nicole Albert, the wife of Brian Albert. I know it's complicated. There's a lot of relatives here. It gets even more complicated when the lawyers in court are calling each other my brother, my sister. I got so confused about that yesterday, but apparently that's a Massachusetts court thing. Lawyers refer to each other as my brother or my sister, whereas here we would just say my adversary if we forgot someone's name. But it gets very confusing when this case involves so many actual real brothers and sisters. Kerry followed Karen's black Lexus SUV back to John's house. Kerry drove Jennifer and Karen to 34 Fairview to look for John. Kerry described the weather as whiteout conditions as they were driving around. As they arrived at 34 Fairview Road, Karen stated, "There he is, I see him," from inside the vehicle. Carrie stated only Karen saw John as he was covered in snow and through whiteout conditions. Carrie stated after they exited the vehicle, Karen stated, "I see him." Carrie was still not able to see John at that point due to the weather conditions. Carrie observed John approximately 12 feet from the roadway, swollen right eye with a laceration above it, and blood around the nose and mouth. Carrie stated on January 29th, 2022. Oh, wait, sorry, I forgot one part there. Carrie stated they began CPR and called 911. On February 1st, 2022, Trooper Proctor, spoke with Carrie via phone. Carrie stated that on January 29th, 2022, at approximately 5 a.m., she was contacted by Karen. Carrie answered the phone to hear Karen stated, "John's dead. Carrie, I wonder if he's dead. It's snowing. He got hit by a plow." I don't have a copy of this statement. If anybody has it and they want to email it to me, I'll take a look at it. But this is fakak. This is fakakta. Number 9, on January 29th, 2022, approximately 4:30 p.m., Sergeant Buchanan and I arrived at an address in Dighton, Mass. The residence is the home of Karen Reed's parents. Upon arrival, Sergeant Buchanan and I observed a large black Lexus SUV bearing Massachusetts registration number this. The vehicle is registered to Karen Reed. The vehicle was parked outside in the driveway in front of a garage door. We observed the rear right passenger side taillight to be shattered. Okay, now it's shattered. This time is going to come into play later. This 4:30 p.m. time may not be wholly accurate based on some evidence that will be discovered after this was filed. But while Jet McCabe's statement says the taillight was cracked, now Michael Proctor says it was shattered. Big difference between cracked and shattered, if you ask me. A large red plastic piece was missing from the taillight. Sergeant Buchanan and I were invited inside by the homeowners. Karen was seated on a living room couch and agreed to speak with us. Karen stated she met the victim at C.F. McCarthy's bar in Canton at approximately 9 p.m. on January 29th, 2022. The victim was there with several friends prior to Karen's arrival. Karen stated the victim was consuming beer and she was drinking vodka sodas. Karen described the glassware she was drinking out of as a vase style. That's going to be important. A vase style glass. Because the cocktail glass they found at the scene was not a vase style glass, it was a cocktail glass, which is a short glass, yeah? And a vase style glass means to me that it's either a wine glass with a stem or one of those glasses that has a shape like this. You know what I'm talking about. Karen stated her and the victim left C.F. McCarthy's and went to Waterfall Bar. Karen stated she did not leave C.F. McCarthy's or enter the Waterfall Bar with a glass or drink. Karen and the victim were at the waterfall for approximately 1 hour. During that time, there were no altercations or arguments amongst anyone. When Karen and the victim left the Waterfall Bar, they were invited to a house on Fairview Road. Karen stated she dropped the victim at the house on Fairview and went home since she was having stomach issues at the previous bar. Karen stated as she dropped the victim off, she made a 3-point turn in the street and left. Karen did not see the victim enter the house. Karen told investigators she first observed the broken taillight in the morning and did not know how it broke last night. While at the 2 bars, Karen stated she did not observe any injuries or cuts on the victim's arms, and the victim did not suffer any injuries or cuts while at the bars. When Karen discovered the victim in the morning, she observed him lying face up, snow on his legs, eyes swollen, and blood coming from his nose and mouth. Karen began providing mouth to mouth. Karen attempted to contact the victim throughout the night, calling and texting him numerous times with no response. Karen informed investigators her and the victim were in a verbal argument that morning over what Karen fed the victim's niece for breakfast. So allegedly, this statement was given 4:30 p.m. the day that her boyfriend's body was found. I think the evidence showed that she called him something like 49 times after she left. I submit to you that if she intentionally ran him over and left him there to die, why would she call him 49 times? On January 30th, 2022, at approximately 1 p.m., Sergeant Buchanan and I interviewed firefighter Katie McLaughlin at the Canton Police Department. Katie was assigned to Station 1 on Saturday, January 29th, 2022. Katie stated at approximately 5 a.m., Canton Fire and EMS were dispatched to 34 Fairview Road for a male party discovered in the snow and unresponsive. Upon arrival, Katie observed the victim being worked on by paramedics. Once inside the ambulance, Katie observed the victim to have trauma to face and eye area and vomit in the mouth. Katie observed the victim wearing jeans, socks, and one black Nike sneaker. The victim's shirts were cut and chest exposed for chest compressions. Katie exited the ambulance to speak with Karen as to the victim's identity and any medical history. Katie described Karen as a white female, approximately 5'5", thin, brown, blonde hair, brown eyes, and early 40s in age. Karen provided the victim's name and date of birth. Katie asked Karen if she knew where the victim suffered trauma to his face and eyes. Katie stated Karen turned to her friend and said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." On January 29th, 2022, at approximately 5:30 p.m., Sergeant Buchanan and I seized the black Lexus LX with this Massachusetts license plate number and VIN number from the driveway of a house in Dighton. Diamond Towing transported the vehicle to the Canton Police Department, where it was secured in their Sally Port garage. Sergeant Buchanan and I traveled behind the tow truck from the residence to the Canton Police Department. Okay, so if Trooper and Buchanan are with the Massachusetts State Police, why is the car towed to the Canton PD instead of the state PD? Law enforcement friends? Statement was in response to a question. Yeah, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Maybe that's the only thing that she could think of, because she couldn't possibly comprehend that somebody would beat him to death and leave him outside to die. I think a reasonable jury could come to that conclusion as well. Perhaps. On February 1st, no, this is paragraph 12, on February 1st, 2022, at 9 a.m., members from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Services Collision Analysis Reconstruction Service section, CARS, and laboratory chemist processed the black Lexus, bearing Massachusetts registration, this of the Canton Police Department. Fragments of broken glass was observed on the rear bumper of the vehicle. This is on February 1st. The car is towed on January 29th, 30/31/1. This is 3 days later. 3 days later, after being towed from Dighton to Canton, 3 days later, there are fragments of broken glass observed on the rear bumper of the vehicle. I have questions. The rear right passenger side taillight was shattered and pieces missing from the red and clear areas. On the right side of the rear tailgate, a deep scratch and minor dent was observed. I'm no accident reconstructionist, but seems to me more like bumping into another car than bumping into a person. You wouldn't dent your car by a low speed impact into a person, and you also probably wouldn't shatter your tail light or have a scratch on your car if you hit a person. On the right side of the rear bumper, above a small red light, 2 scratches were observed in one area where the paint was chipped off. Troopers from CARS performed a rapid acceleration forward and reverse and noted there were no deficiencies with the braking system. A training figure resembling a human, approximately 6 feet in height, was placed behind the Lexus. The vehicle was operated by members of CARS and documented with video by crime scene services. The vehicle was placed in reverse and started to travel toward the training figure. The rear view camera was operating properly, providing a 180-degree visual. As the Lexus traveled closer to the figure, auditory and visual cues sounded off, indicating an obstruction to the rear. "13. On January 29, 2022, the Massachusetts Special Emergency Response Team, SERT, was activated to assist in searching for potential evidence outside of 34 Fairview Road. When looking at 34 Fairview Road from the street, there's a fire hydrant on the far left of the property. Members from CERT located a black Nike sneaker with a white Nike logo along the side. The sneaker located by CERT matches the one sneaker the victim was wearing at the time he was transported by EMS to Good Sam Hospital. In the same area, 2 red plastic pieces of a taillight were discovered, consistent to the missing pieces on Karen Reed's black Lexus SUV. One piece of clear plastic piece of taillight was located in the same area, also consistent with the broken taillight on the Lexus SUV. Note here, it does not say what time. It doesn't say what time Massachusetts Special Emergency Response Team arrived at 34 Fairview. Doesn't say what time, but I think we may find out later that it was around 12 hours later, something like 6 p.m. And would they like us to believe that the officers that responded from Canton are so incompetent? They are so incompetent that when they arrive at this crime scene where a dead police officer lies in a dusting of snow, missing a sneaker, and they find a cocktail glass and some blood samples that they collect in solo cups, that they don't see the other sneaker and they don't see this giant piece of taillight, that they're that incompetent, that they didn't see it at the time that they investigated the crime scene first. I have questions. Number 14, based on all this information in the above paragraphs, witness statements, evidence recovered at the scene, damage to Karen Reed's Lexus SUV consistent to items located at the scene, the trauma to the victim, and statements made by Reed to friends, I believe that the crimes of manslaughter, a violation of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 265, Section 13, negligent motor vehicle homicide, a violation of Massachusetts, I don't know why that's redacted, and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death, a violation of Massachusetts General Law, was committed at 34 Fairview Road, Canton. The victim, being identified as one John O'Keefe, suffered a significant blunt force trauma, and the bodily injuries sustained by him proved to be substantial, in that fact establishing the grounds for an issuance of an arrest warrant for Karen Reed. Signed under penalties of perjury, Trooper Michael Proctor. This was actually signed on February 1st, filed at Stoughton District Court, February 2nd of 2022, and stamped by the clerk magistrate. And this is the application for the criminal complaint. It says arrest status of accused, has been arrested. Here are the charges. Here's a blatant error. Charges manslaughter. Offense date, February 1st of 2022. That's not when the offense occurred. The offense occurred allegedly on January 29th of 2022. Has anybody ever pointed out this discrepancy? I mean, I'm just saying, I'm a stickler for details. What can I say? And this is Trooper Everton C. DeCastro saying that the undersigned alleges as follows, that this is a full statement of the factual basis for the offenses for which a criminal complaint is sought. 1. On Tuesday, February 1st, 2022, at approximately 1940 hours, I, Trooper Everton DeCastro, responded to blank in the city of Mansfield. Norfolk SPDU detectives and VFAS were on scene and had taken Karen Reed into custody on a warrant on the original charges of manslaughter, motor vehicle homicide by negligent operation, and leaving the scene of personal injury and death out of Stoughton District Court. 2. Upon arrival at the residence, Reed was placed into the rear of my cruiser without incident. Reed was then transported to the Milton State Police Barracks for processing. When we arrived at the barracks, Reed was booked without incident and the bail commissioner was contacted. Bail Commissioner Comerford ordered Reed be held without bail pending her court appearance. What say you, my friends? What say you? I have an amazing cup that my mods had made for me for Christmas. They had it made for me. And it says, "What say you?" I don't have it in my immediate vicinity right at this moment, but it is pretty amazing because I say that a lot. What say you, my friends? What say you? And now I want to know what you have to say. Hi, Team Brittany. In my opinion, that date is because that's when the revised info was put in and finalized for the records. Yeah, it could be. I mean, that's the date that this was signed, but it clearly says offense date. That's the date of the offense. That is the date for which you are charging this person, the date that the crimes are supposed to have been committed. So that is a serious Scrivener's error. According to Scott McGinnis, you will find Scrivener's errors everywhere. Haha. At least that's how ADA Lally explains them away. Yeah, I learned something else yesterday. That you guys call it Lally-splaining when Lally talks in court, because I mean, we've heard in the cases that we've covered on this channel, we've heard a lot of word salad. Alec Murdaugh was a master of word salad. That guy had a chopped salad that was tossed more ways than like a Peter Luger chopped salad. Alec Murdaugh is a master of word salad, but I will say that Lally is right up there too. Lally-splaining, some kind of word salad. Kathy says it's so much reasonable doubt in this case that Karen will be vindicated, I think you mean to say. Hopefully the FBI will step in after the case is over. They are stepping in now. They're investigating the investigation. So there is some problem. Ava. Hello, Ava. House was off limits for blankets? Could the occupants in the house didn't want to be seen with obvious signs of being in a fist fight on their face or hands? I have questions. The police officer that owns the house never comes out of the house. His wife never comes out of the house. We're going to look at some other witness statements now because we still have to go through Jen McCabe's second statement. Chris and Julie Albert, who were interviewed together, their statements, and the statement of Ryan Nagel, who's the only person that's not related to anybody else that they took statements from. Blankets. Why did they not go in the house to see if they could find a cocktail glass matching the cocktail glass that they found in the snow so they would know whether he was inside the house? Because if they had a set of those glasses, perhaps he was in the house and had that glass with him. Maybe he walked outside to get an Uber or something and slipped and fell and hit his head on the lawn. And that's how he got that glass. I don't know. But we don't jump right away to she actually did this on purpose because of the statements of 4 other people who are related and a cocktail glass and some solo cup blood samples, which I guess were his blood. So there's just not enough here, you guys, for me, this is my opinion. It happened in the house, says Mark. Diane, these reports have been rewritten in the court record due to changes in witness statements given in 2023. Shocking. I'm shocking. Liz says, Melanie, read number 8. It said she followed Karen Reed, and then it said she was in the SUV. Number 8, the paragraph of what I just read. It's hard because number 8, she said she followed Karen Reed, and then she said it was in the SUV. Yeah, there's some conflicting information here. For sure. Yeah. I'm going to take your word for it, so we don't have to go back into that rabbit hole right now. But sometimes I tell my viewers, call me Alice, because I have fallen into this rabbit hole and I just can't get out. I just can't get out. Kristen Pino says this is such a huge waste of resources. Diane says a year and a half after the crime, the reports were changed. Ed C says, I'm still getting a strong The Departed vibe. It's a movie reference. Todd says, go, 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 tick, 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 boom. Another movie reference. Another movie reference. Oh, Charlene. Somebody's bringing this up. They forgot to mention that John and Colin had issues as Colin lived next door and threw empty beer bottles on John's lawn. Well, I don't know if they lived exactly next door to each other, but I do know that they lived on the same street. I did look that up. And they both lived on a street called Meadow, right? And I think they lived a few houses away, and they had been in some altercations before, and perhaps some reporting of incidents, and as such, those things. I don't have police reports on, so let's just say they may have had some beef. I don't know. They may have had some beef. They were neighbors. Sherry Davis says the released videos of her backing up and hitting car before pulling off light was functioning. Light was functioning. The light, her tail light. I don't know if we can tell if it's cracked or not, but people have reviewed that footage and said that it was cracked. So if it wasn't cracked, if you're saying that the light was not cracked when she left the driveway that morning, and they're claiming it was cracked when she hit him, that's how it cracked, right? And if you're saying it wasn't cracked when she leaves the driveway after bumping into John's car, doesn't that prove that she didn't hit him? When was it cracked? Oh, Miss Violet. Just so I understand, she knocked him out of his shoes, beat up his face, but not his torso, broke her taillight, but the bits were found over several days. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have the video pulled up right now. Please show the release video of her backing up and hitting car before pulling off light was functioning. I don't know what you mean. The light could be functioning, but it could still be cracked. You're saying that it was not cracked. So you're saying that she did not hit him with it, that somebody cracked the tail light later after it was towed, or before it was towed, or at some point later. I don't know. Angela O'Donnell, this is true. Chris Albert killed a man. That's a fact. He did kill somebody, apparently. And I think the judge's brother was his lawyer. We're going to get into that motion to recuse tomorrow, I think, because we have so much more. You guys, we haven't even scratched the surface on this case. This case runs deep. It runs deep. Chris Albert is Colin Albert's dad, yeah? Who is the brother of Brian, who is 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, right? Patriot, so nice to see you. The real offense is the alleged conspiracy to frame Karen Reed. So maybe FBI is the real date of the real. Maybe February 1st is the real date of the real offense. Oh, I see where you're going with this. I see where you're going with this. Kimberly, QR pros saying she hit him doing a 3-point turn. If so, damage would be on the left side of the vehicle. My brain is fried right now, and I can't even try and figure that out. Hi, Speak Life. Nice to see you. She is out on bail right now. She has been out on bail. I think it's up to $80,000 now. I know that when they upgraded the charges to murder from manslaughter, for what reason, I can't seem to figure out. her bail was raised, I believe, but only because she's got the resources. If she had no money, she'd still be sitting in jail. There was a hearing recently where they asked the judge to please reduce her bail so that she could get some of her money back. They say she's not a flight risk and she needs the money to pay for experts for all this DNA and all of this evidence testing, because it took them a year to 18 months to turn over a lot of this evidence. There's another hearing we can look at from September where Ms. Little, who is no relation to me, by the way, who is on the defense team, gives a very well-reasoned argument about all of the things that the defense has not turned over because they claim the testing wasn't done. And that's insane. That's insane. Yes, if she was broke, we wouldn't know about any of this, says Leandra. That's true. Yep. Teach ya. All that while going in reverse at 20 miles an hour. I mean, they wanted, when I was listening to that argument from September earlier today, but it's way too much to put into the show. They wanted all of the electronic data from the Lexus. So this is very, very interesting. Oh, hi. Hi, Sherry. I'm glad, Sherry, that we're going to get to clarify your comment. Released video of her backing up and hitting the car before pulling off. Okay, that's the morning after when she's going to look for John from John's driveway where she hits John's car. Yes, the light was functioning, did not seem broken or shattered. That's why we're going to have a battle of the experts on this trial. The trial is supposed to happen, you guys, on March 12th. And this is going to be a trial like no other trial that we've seen. And I don't know why. Oh, hey, New Zealand. I love that. Hey, Sarah Lodge. Always listen. Usually don't comment. Loving your growing channel. Listening from New Zealand. Thank you. That's why also 4 p.m. is a good time, 4 p.m. Eastern, because my Australian viewers, it's 10 a.m. tomorrow in Australia. And my European viewers across the pond, it's 9 or 10 p.m. So everybody can participate and we can really get the word out. Right? Bob Weir is in the chat. Bob Weir is in the chat. Bobby, check it. Oh, wait, I can't because the camera's over there. But can you see that dancing bear over there in the corner? Can you see that? I'm a big Deadhead from way back. And I can remember going to Worcester back in the day to see the Grateful Dead play at Worcester. So Bob Weir, I'm so glad that you're here, Bobby. Did she get the 80K back? Well, she will when she appears for trial. And if she's exonerated, she will get the money back. And after the trial's over, and she will get the money back. They're trying to get her some of the money back now so she can pay for her witnesses and for her experts and for her lawyers. Julie, I don't know if you hear, but Bob Weir's in the chat. Worcester Centrum. Yeah, back in the day. Karen Bullis. Parking lot deadheads. Yep. Who's got my veggie bagel? Who's got my grilled cheese? A lot of deadheads out of Boston. A lot of my friends live in Boston. I went to summer camp in New Hampshire for my childhood, and so many of my friends still live in Massachusetts. Natick, Sharon, Norfolk. I have an in-depth knowledge of this area where this trial is happening, and that is where, yes, Jamie O'Leary. There's a snow plow driver by the name of Lucky. Apparently wasn't interviewed, and I don't have a statement in front of me, so I can't go over that right now. But I will just let you guys know because we will dig a little bit deeper into what Lucky has to say. And Lucky says when he went by at 2:30 in the morning plowing the road, there was nobody there. Then there's some information that there may have been a Ford Edge parked right there in front of where the body was found after Lucky went by. And yeah, it was the one with the Centrum. What did I say? The Spectrum? Maybe it was Philly that had the Spectrum, but yeah, the Centrum was I don't know. Little mystery. You can put it in the chat, but I don't know if it will let you put a link in the chat to Karen's fundraiser. Just make sure it's the legit one because there's a lot of copycat fundraisers out there, What I say, the Spectrum? All right, yeah, so what's the Centrum? Kay O'Brien. It's not Carrie O'Brien, is it? All right. All right, Colleen Egan has some more deets for us. The taillight was cracked at 5 a.m., but still intact. At 4:18 p.m., Massachusetts State Police took possession and it was still intact. MSP submitted 37 plus pieces of taillight into evidence. Oh, and they have no pictures of things. Oh, no pictures were taken. Yeah, it is a long, strange trip. It is a long, strange trip. And, as I was thinking about this whole thing about brothers and sisters and, loving Jerry Garcia and the Jerry Garcia Band, there was a Jerry Garcia Band song called Brothers and Sisters. And the lyrics went a little something like this, because I think in song lyrics. So this is something that I do on my show every time I have a live stream, is that I think in song lyrics. I want to say to my sisters and my brothers, keep the faith. Keep the faith, my sisters and brothers, keep the faith. The tow truck driver said the taillight wasn't cracked when he towed the car, says Jimmy James. Oh, for the love of the traveling Mary. That is a reference to another case that we covered called Maya Kowalski. And when I thought about this case earlier today, and I'm thinking, why is nobody really covering this case? Is it because it's not sensationalized like all of the cases the true crime cases that have garnered so much attention have to do with children whose lives were taken? You look at a case like Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt, tons of attention. The Delphi case, two sadly young girls' lives were taken, all involving children. I mean, is that what is more interesting to people? I don't know. But I'm here for it. So let's look at a couple more witness statements that we said we were going to look at. And the next one we're going to look at is Jen McCabe's interview from February 1st, because she didn't just give one. She gave two. But now I did something to my screen. I can't find my, hang on. Where did I go? There I am. I'm back. I don't know. I did something. I have a second screen over here. I'm not a techie. I don't understand how this stuff works. Okay. Yes, I know, Lori. I know about TB. I know he's in jail. He's in jail for something else. I know he is. He gets all the credit for bringing this to public attention. But I do not want to have any sideshow drama on my stream right now. So I don't want to muddy the waters with that, because I think it's been muddied a little bit. Sleuthy has the recording? Okay, thank you, Glare. I know that you played it on your show. I just know where it came from. I don't know if it's in evidence. And that's actually, I saw it on your show. That's where I saw the original, or heard the original 911 call, I believe. No, I watched a lot of YouTube. Yeah, we don't like toxicity here, Little Mystery. We just don't do it. We don't tolerate it. We don't tolerate the cursey words, the bullying, the misinformation. But there is so much going on here that it's just hard to ignore. Yes, my mods are amazing. Thank you. I have the best mods on YouTube, and they will not tolerate it. I have rules. Listen, why can't we all just get along? I have so much drama in my real life with 3 teenage daughters that I cannot handle. I can't handle any more drama. I just can't. All right, here is the February 1st interview of Jen McCabe. Let's look at this, because they interviewed her again. This one is quite lengthier. Not quite lengthier. It is lengthier. Scott, there are more questions than answers. That is true. No drama. Yep. Sorry, Meanie Chat. Love it here. Thank you. I'm glad. This is look, I want this to be a safe place for people to be able to express their opinions. Yes, I'll explain that again, Leandra, for those of you who may be just joining. The 911 call to which I am referring, or to which we are referring, that the Glare and I were just discussing, is that it is when they pull up in the car to the scene where John O'Keefe's body is found, and Karen Reed is sitting in the back seat. She is calling John O'Keefe because she's still frantically looking for him. His voicemail picks up. She sees his body. She drops the phone in the back seat of the car. but it's recording the voicemail that she's leaving on John's phone. So what that call picks up, that recording picks up, is Karen Reed screaming bloody murder and running over and shouting some things. And we'll listen to it if we can get a copy of it that's verifiable and not edited. And, but I'll tell you what I heard. Scream bloody murder. Clearly freaking out, running over. And you hear, because Jen McCabe is still sitting in the front seat now, calling 911, you hear her calling 911 very calmly. And it's almost, it's bizarre how calm she is, because remember, John O'Keefe was Jen McCabe's friend. She's the one who invited him over to this party. She's known him for years. And her friend's dead body is on the phone. She's calling 911 with a very calm tone of voice. I mean, I know it's hard for us to say how someone should behave in a certain situation, and everyone behaves differently. But I submit to you that if I pulled up to a house and I'm making a 911 call and my buddy's laying in the front yard, lifeless, I'm going to sound a little freaked out when I'm calling 911. And then there's a hushed phone call, I think, to her sister who is inside the house. And I don't know exactly what she says, so I'm not going to say anything more about that. It may or may not have caught a call that she made to her sister, Nicole, who's inside the house. She's the homeowner. She whispers. Yeah, she whispers, right? It's whispering. Hello, Cheryl, my cupcake. Hello. No cursey words, please. No cursey words, please. Let me just go to some of these lovely people who are being so incredibly generous. Thank you, Nancy McNulty, for your super sticker. Thank you, Ashley Daigle or Dage. Thank you, Ashley. Again, why are moderators overzealous? I'm in timeout. Oh, I don't know. We're better safe than sorry here. So, if there's foul language or any certain, YouTube has, like, remember George Carlin had an act, or maybe you're too young to remember this. He had a stand-up routine called the 7 dirty words you can't say on TV. Well, there are at least 7 or more that you can't say on YouTube, or you get like shadow banned. So try not to use any words that maybe YouTube could find offensive. So if that's what happened, I'm sorry. But I would rather be safe than sorry. So thank you for your super chat. Ashley Snow, thank you. Shout out to the lightning quick mods. I dig it. Well done, y'all. Yep, they're the best. Thanks, Ashley, for your super chat. Iron Range Rube, thank you for your super chat. I don't mean any offense, but your eyes are very memorizing, beautiful. Thank you so much. I don't find that to be misogynistic or in any way offensive. I will take all compliments at my age from anybody who wants to give them to me happily. So thank you for that. The Only Latina, thanks for your super chat. Don't forget, Steve Scanlon told Yannetti he wanted to remain anonymous. Once they told the FBI that wasn't an option for him to stay anonymous. This is what started the investigation into the FBI investigation. Too much to get into today, but thank you for the super chat. We will get into it. We have so much more ground to cover. I'm going to come back tomorrow at 4 p.m. because it's convenient for everyone worldwide. So set your calendar, set your alarm, and hit the notification bell so you get all notifications. Thank you, Cheryl, for your super sticker. And the Only Latina, again, thank you again for your super chat. You're being awfully generous tonight. Proctor said GPS on plow wasn't working. That was a lie. FBI interviewed the plow guy and told him that GPS was working. FBI knew he plowed at 2:30 a.m. No body there. All this stuff is circumstantial, but in a lot of cases, everything is circumstantial. The only direct evidence that you will ever get, my friends, let me put myself full screen for this for a second, is eyewitness testimony, which I submit to you is one of the least reliable forms of testimony, or an actual video of an actual person committing crime. So almost everything is circumstantial in every case. So when people say, oh, it's all circumstantial evidence, well, yeah, that's mostly what evidence is. I'm just saying. Scott, it's going to take you 6 of these shows to get the newbies up to speed. Going to be fun. Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for your another one of your super chats today. I appreciate you. And I'm glad that so many of you are here helping me, because I know you know the facts. I know you're as passionate about justice as I am. So I love that. I love that for us. Thanks, Jody, for becoming a new member. And thank you, Tara Ellis, for your super chat. To the teenage daughters are as expensive as they are dramatic fund. Oh my goodness. I know. I know. That's why I can't tolerate. Listen, I'm doing YouTube for fun. This is fun for me. I want to speak out and I want to, raise awareness, and I want to talk for people who don't always get a voice, right? My whole career was based on that. So yeah, I don't want the drama on my channel. Just don't. We can disagree, but we have to do it respectfully. Otherwise, you're out of here. You're out of here. You're out of here. And that's just it. It's just the way it is. All right, let's look at Jen McCabe's statement from February 1. On February 1, this again was drafted by, actually, this is from Trooper Kathleen Prince, Norfolk County, SPDU. So this is a second interview of Jennifer McCabe that is not done by Michael Proctor. This is done by Trooper Connor Keefe, Trooper Kathleen Prince. Okay. All right. On February 1st, which is 3 days after John O'Keefe was found. 1. On February 1st, 2022, I, along with Trooper Connor Keefe, went to Blank Lane in Canton to speak with Jennifer McCabe concerning the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe on January 29, 2022. The following is a summary of what Miss McCabe told us. Miss McCabe said that on Friday, January 28th, she and her husband, Matt McCabe, had been at the waterfall in Canton. Jen said that John and Karen came into the waterfall around 11 p.m. Jen said that she knows John O'Keefe because her daughter and John O'Keefe's niece, I didn't want to dox her, are friends. She said that she had come to know Karen through John because the two were dating. Jen said that John had encouraged Jen and Karen to become friends because Jen has multiple sclerosis, MS, and Karen had also been diagnosed with MS. John and Karen had been at CF McCarthy's before they came into the waterfall. Jen noticed that Karen had a mixed drink in a clear glass in her hand that she had brought over from CF McCarthy's. I have another question. Did anybody ever go to CF McCarthy's to match the glass that was found on the lawn to see if any of CF McCarthy's has those exact type of glasses there? Because I have questions. If anybody knows, put it in the chat. 3. At the end of the evening, Jen said that she and her husband were planning to go to her sister's house because it was her nephew, Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday. Jen said that she asked Karen and John if they wanted to come along, and they said that they would. The Alberts live at 34 Fairview Road. Jen said that John had texted her at 12:14 a.m. to get the address. Jen said that she spoke with John on the phone again to explain where the house is. She said that she remembers providing him with directions, specifically telling him to drive past Bella's house on the right. Jen said that John would know where Bella lives. She is a friend of Kay, the niece. 4. Jen said that while she was at the house, someone there said that there was a car outside. Jen looked out the front door of the house and saw the car. She assumed it was John and Karen. She said that she did not notice what kind of car it was. Jen said that she's not good at identifying cars and was not able to provide a description of the car. She noticed that the vehicle was facing in the opposite direction of how it would have been if they had followed the directions provided earlier. Jen then texted John at 12:21 a.m. here. She texted John again at 12:31 a.m. and told him to pull behind her vehicle. She looked out the window a little while later and noticed that the car was further away from the house, closer to the neighbor. At 12:40 a.m., she texted again and said, "Hello, where are you?" There was no response from John. Jen said that her phone shows a call from her phone to John around that time, but she thinks that she dialed him by accident when she was putting her phone in and out of her pants pocket. The next time that she looked out the window, the car was gone. She did not think anything of it and thought that they just decided not to come in. Jen said that she and her husband were at the house from around 11:45 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. She said that she and her husband drove two of her nephew's friends home, and then they went home. Also interesting to me, as I break from this for a second, as I'm thinking, all these people left the home at 1:30, but nobody saw a body on the lawn. Just something to keep in mind. 5, the following morning, Jen got a call from Kay, John's niece. Kay said, "Hi, Jen, Karen needs to speak to you." Karen got on the phone and was yelling, "John never came home." Karen told Jen that she left him at the waterfall. Jen thought that perhaps he was with a friend. Jen said that she checked with Julie Albert to see if he had gone to their house. Jen explained to Karen that she did not leave him at the waterfall because they were outside Jen McCabe's sister's house after the waterfall. Karen then told Jen when she got home, John was not with her. Jen began to think of other friends that John might have ended up going to, such as Tom Beatty, but he was not there either. Karen was telling Jen that she, Karen, had not planned to stay at John's house that night and that John would not have stayed out all night, leaving Kay home alone overnight. At some point while they were talking on the phone, Karen got into her car and started driving. Jen said that Karen was hysterical, screaming. Karen drove to Jen's house. Okay. I have questions because now there's a lot more information all of a sudden. There's a lot more information here. Now she's saying that Karen told her that she left John at the waterfall bar. This is new information, right? Jen thought perhaps he was with a friend. She said she checked with Julie Albert to see if he had gone to their house. So she's saying that morning at 5 a.m. when she gets a call from Karen, she calls Julie Albert to see if John is there. Julie Albert is the mother of Colin Albert. Am I right? Jen explained to Karen that she did not leave him at the waterfall because they were outside Jen McCabe's sister's house after the waterfall. Okay, so now she's saying, first she said, I didn't see what kind of car it was outside the door, but now she's telling Karen, you were outside the house. I have questions. I have a lot of questions. 6, Jen said that when Karen showed up at her house at around 5:30 a.m., she went outside and started to drive Karen's car back to John's house. I don't know why, because that's where Karen just came from. She said that they got to John's house around 5:45 a.m. Shortly after, Carrie arrived. They looked in John's house to make sure that he was not there. The three decided to all get into one vehicle to go look for him. They took Carrie's car. Jen said that Karen was saying things like, could I have hit him? Look at the crack in my taillight. There is a crack in it. Jen said that she did notice damage to the taillight. Jen said that Karen was so hysterical and was saying so many things that Jen did not think Karen actually hit him. Okay, so Jen did not think Karen actually hit him on February 1st when this statement was made. According to these two law enforcement officers who took this statement, who are not Michael Proctor. Everybody following me? Jen said she did notice damage to the taillight. Jen said that Karen was so hysterical and was saying so many things that Jen did not think that Karen actually hit him. Karen was also saying things about him possibly being with old girlfriends. More new information. Number 7, Jen says they probably got on the road around 5:53 a.m. to go look for John. Carrie was driving, Karen was in the back seat, and Jen was in the passenger seat. They pulled down to Fairview from Chapman Street. Jen said that as they were approaching the 34 Fairview house, Karen said, pull the effing car over. There he is. Jen said that she did not notice him, but Karen did. Carrie stopped in the middle of the road and Karen jumped out of the car and went to him. Jen said that John was in the area of where she had last seen the vehicle the night prior. The vehicle that she couldn't identify because she's not good with cars. Jen said that he was on the lawn. There was a coating of about 6 inches of snow on him, says Jen. Karen threw herself on top of him. He was lying on his back and his phone was on the ground underneath him. Jen said that she called 911. They attempted CPR, and then the ambulance and police arrived. Jen said that Karen was very hysterical. She was asking people if she had hit him. Karen was told to sit in a car. Jen went over to Karen when she was in the car. Jen observed Karen to have blood on her hands and face. Karen was holding her hands up and was saying, "I have my period." Didn't she say that she said that before when she was next to the body? And now she's saying she said it while she's sitting in the car? I have questions, and I'm going to have to look at these side by side. So I'm just pointing out some things that I'm noticing. Jen said that she told Karen that that was not her blood, that it was John's blood from them doing CPR. Jen also stated that while her and Karen were in the back of the car, Karen was yelling and screaming one moment and then completely calm the next. Jen said that they prayed the Our Father together. Karen then immediately yelled at Jen 2 times to Google, quote, "How long do you have to be left outside to die from hypothermia?" Jen was unsure if she, Karen, was brought from the scene by ambulance to the hospital. Well, so much of this is new information 3 days later from the first time the statement was taken of Jen McCabe by Proctor. This is 2 different officers taking this statement. And now there's so much more information. We got the Our Father. We got Karen yelling at Jen, "How long do you have to be left outside to die from hypothermia?" Jen was unsure if she, Karen, was brought from the scene by ambulance to the hospital. And I know people are saying it in the chat. So there is some evidence of a 2:27 a.m. search by Jen McCabe on her phone, a Google search at 2:27 a.m. that says, quote, "How long to die in cold, but how is spelled wrong, and it's spelled HOS. Haas long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m. They've been fighting about this a lot, the prosecution and the defense, because the prosecution is saying, well, we've got evidence from Celebrite that says that when you open up a browser, that it reverts back to the time of your first search. And so when she really searched it, when Karen told her to, after the body was found, it went back to the time that Google search browser was first opened, and that was 2:27 a.m., but the search wasn't really made until 6:04. But you know what? Hey, you can't use forensics as a shield and a sword. You can't say the forensics are accurate for this, but they're not accurate for that. Pick a lane. 8. Jen was asked about what Karen and John were like when they were at the water club. Water club, it's waterfall, but okay. She said she did not notice them fighting. She has known them to be together as a couple for about 2 years, and to her knowledge, they loved each other. She said that she did not think that there were any issues between them. Jen said the only thing that she can think of is once Karen made a comment that if there were not any kids, they would not have anything to fight about over. Jen told Karen that was very normal. Jen was asked about their level of intoxication, and she said they were both drinking but did not appear to be drunk. Did not appear to be drunk. Bingo, says Bookworm. They did not appear to be drunk. There's no way Karen asked anyone to Google how Haas long to die in the cold. Yes, Charlene, this is also true as well. She deleted so many things, and Brian Albert got a new phone number. She deleted his old contact. There's a lot. Do you think they gave, somebody said this too, Scott, and I was looking into this last night. Scott says, I believe the state gave up fighting the 2:27 Haas long to die search. It happened. Jen McCabe Googled it, folks, facts. So yeah, if somebody has that for me in court papers, or if they said it in open court, I would love some more info on that. Because I don't know. I'm seeing a mountain of reasonable doubt here. And I know that Vinny said when I was on Court TV with him the other night that, we want to find the truth. We don't care about reasonable doubt right now. I submit to you that that's all we need is reasonable doubt. That's all she needs is reasonable doubt. You guys are moving quickly here in the chat. So hang on a second. Oh, thanks, Ed, for gifting 5 memberships. I love that. Thank you so much. If you want to opt into gifts, there's a way to do it. I don't really know how to tell you how to do it, but you hit 3 dots and you opt in, and YouTube distributes them randomly to people who are participating in the chat, and then you get to be a member. Yay. Diane became a member. Maybe you got gifted one. The only Latina. Yep. Thank you again. Haas long to die in cold, 2:27 a.m. Thanks for your super sticker, RC. I appreciate you guys are really coming in hot tonight. Jody Mitchell, thanks for your super chat. If she hit him at the time the state contends, then he would have been dead when they found him. He was still alive at 6:04, albeit barely. Free Karen Reed. I want to see the autopsy report. I have not downloaded that yet, but I do want to see it. It's because I have so many questions. So many questions. So after Jen McCabe's second statement, we have the statement of Chris and Julie Albert, taken on February 7th. This was after the arrest, after Karen is in custody. She may have been bailed out by them, but she was definitely arrested. So they did not interview Chris and Julie Albert, the parents of Colin Albert, right? Till February 7th. So let's take a peek at that, shall we? We shall. I have so many questions. You guys who have been living with this case from Canton, I can't even imagine how mad you are about this. Wait, when was Nicole Albert interviewed? Hold on. Well, since I have this one pulled up, let's look at Ryan Nagel's interview. Ryan Nagel is like the only guy who's interviewed here who's not a relative. So let's hear what he's got to say. Let's hear from somebody who's a non-party, non-interested witness who really was just kind of a passerby coming to pick up his sister at the party, and who really has no ulterior motive other than to just tell the truth, I would submit to you. But, this is why eyewitness testimony can sometimes be some of the least reliable form of testimony if everyone has an agenda. Just saying, not saying anybody does have an agenda. I'm just saying if. So this is interesting because this one, remember when we looked at the other ones, although the statements were taken, or the interviews were taken on the date of the incident, January 29th and February 1st, they were dated in sometime like in April. This one is actually dated February 7th. And this is a statement from Sergeant Yuri Buchanek. So this is dated closer in time to when the statement was actually taken, which was probably, I think, that same day. February 7th, yep. Here is what Ryan Nagel said at his interview. And this was done at the Norfolk DA's office. So he came into the DA's office to give his statement. On January 29th, 2022, at approximately 6:04 a.m., Canton Police Department received a 911 call from a woman reporting a male party, John O'Keefe, found in the snow at 34 Fairview Road. At the time of the 911 call, there was heavy snow and the temperature was in the teens. Officers Saraf and Melanie were dispatched to the scene along with Canton Fire and EMS. Officer Saraf arrived on scene and observed 3 females waving at him. Looking at 34 Fairview from the roadway, the 3 females were in the left corner of the property. Officer Saraf observed the victim lying on the ground as 2 of the females were performing CPR. The 3 females on scene were identified by Canton PD as Karen Reed, Jennifer McCabe, and Carrie Roberts. Additionally, a male party was identified as being in the area the night prior and possibly could have witnessed the victim arriving in the area of 34 Fairview. The victim being John O'Keefe. 2. The said male was identified as Ryan Nagel, who was contacted by his sister Julie Nagel, asking for a ride home while visiting with her friend Brian Albert at 34 Fairview. Ryan came into the Norfolk District Attorney's Office for a pre-scheduled interview on Monday, February 7th, 2022 at 2:35 p.m. The following is a summary of information requested and provided by Ryan during that interview with Trooper Proctor and me. Okay, so Trooper Proctor was there for the interview, but Sergeant Buchanek, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, is the one who actually drafted this. 3. Ryan confirmed that he was contacted by Julie requesting a ride home. At the time, Ryan was with his friend Richie, who was driving his gray in color Ford F-150 pickup truck with Ryan seated in the front passenger seat and Ryan's girlfriend Heather seated in the back passenger compartment. Ryan recalls Richie driving down Cedar Crest Road from the direction of the Kennedy Elementary School. As the F-150 approached Fairview, Ryan remembers seeing a set of headlights of a mid-sized black SUV coming from the opposite direction of Cedar Crest. Subsequently, Richie yielded to the vehicle, allowing it to make a right-hand turn onto Fairview, as their F-150 then followed, making a left-hand turn onto Fairview. Ryan told us that Richie stopped the F-150 directly in front of the driveway belonging to 34 Fairview, and remembers the black SUV stopping along the right-hand curb towards the left side of the property as you look at the home from the street. When asked, Ryan stated he did not observe any erratic operation by the SUV as it turned from Cedar Crest onto Fairview or at any point while in his presence. Ryan went on to say that their F-150 remained in front of the home for a period of time that was no longer than 5 minutes, at which time his sister Julie came out of the house and asked if the 3 of them would like to come inside. Ryan refused the invite, and Julie stated that she wanted to stay a little while longer and would most likely spend the night at 34 Fairview. Upon conclusion of their conversation, Julie retreated back inside the home, and Ryan noticed that the SUV pulled up a few feet to the far edge of the property line between number 34 and the neighboring property where the flagpole was located, along with some bushes. Ryan stated that the SUV's driver did not appear to place the vehicle into park, as the rear brake lights were illuminated to include the third top center light at the initial positioning and after it had pulled up. 6. Trooper Proctor asked Ryan if at any point he heard screams, yelling, or any noise coming from inside the black SUV while he was on Fairview, to which he stated no. Ryan added that as Richie pulled away from 34 Fairview, their F-150 drove past the black SUV, at which time Ryan observed the interior light on and a Caucasian female operated seated inside the vehicle, holding the steering wheel at the 10 and 2, looking straight ahead of her. Ryan told us he did not see anyone else inside the passenger compartment during his brief observation of the SUV as they drove by it. Ryan did not see the SUV leave and did not note any damage to the vehicle, as he remembers. When asked, Ryan stated that it had just started snowing approximately a half hour prior, and there was a coating of snow on the ground. While present in the area of Cedar Crest and Fairview, Ryan did not see any other vehicles operating besides the F-150 and the black SUV. Without having anything further to provide about the evening, Trooper Proctor and I concluded our interview with Ryan. What say you, my friends? What's that? Oh, I feel like you could write a book on this one. A book. I think it's going to be it's got to be a miniseries. There's like too much for even like a Dateline episode on this. There's so much. How do you write up someone else's interview that you weren't at and wasn't recorded? Yeah, none of these were recorded, by the way. None of them are signed by any of the witnesses. But I believe that this Sergeant Yuri Buchanan was with Trooper Proctor doing this interview together. I think they were there together. So where do you begin? I don't know. Why not interview Richie and Heather too? I don't know. Great armchair detectiving. Armchair detective work, Michelle. That would be my question. Too bad there are no interview recordings. Nope. I don't know. God bless Ryan. All he was doing was telling the truth. What he observed, what he saw. He didn't see any damage to the car. He saw her sitting in the car alone. The interior light was on. She said she was texting him, calling him to get inside the house, and then she got mad and left. Maybe she went home and drank a bottle of vodka. I don't know. I wasn't there. But you know who was there? Ryan Nagel. Ryan Nagel actually was there. That's what he saw. That's what he noticed, and he didn't see a body on the lawn. So I'm just saying, I would like everyone to hit the like button now while we pause for a second here. And there's a lot of forensic evidence on this, a lot of forensic evidence. And since I'm here and we have this, let's take a look at something. None of them are recorded. Nope, none of them are recorded at all. Why would they be? And none of them are even signed by the witnesses too, which I also find a little bit interesting. That's the way we do it here. But I don't know. Maybe that's not the way they do it there. Let's look at the interview of Chris and Julie Albert. We also have an interview of Nicole Albert. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. All right. Here we go. I need a producer. And here is the interview of Chris and Julie Albert, dated February 21st of 2022. And this was done at, I guess it was their home in Canton. And this is drafted again by Sergeant Yuri Buchanan. On February 10th, 2022 at approximately 5:30 p.m., Trooper Proctor and I, so this is February 10th now, this is 13 days post. At 5:30 p.m., Trooper Proctor and I proceeded to 22 blank in order to conduct a pre-scheduled interview of Julie and Chris Albert at their residence. Both Julie and Chris were present at the Waterfall Bar and Grill the night of January 28th, 2022, and then followed to Brian Albert's home in the early morning hours of January 29th, 2022. The purpose of the interview was to get their recollection of events both at the bar and then from 34 Fairview Road. The following is a summary of information exchanged between Julie, Chris, Trooper Proctor, and I. So I guess they were interviewed together. 2, following formal introductions, Julie Albert provided her cell phone number to be this. Chris Albert said his cell phone number is that. Both stated that it's been 4 or 5 years since they knew the victim, John O'Keefe, and only met Karen Reed once in a social setting prior to the 28th of January. Julie told us that Karen was not her friend and only an acquaintance, and that John was her friend. Chris told us that he had never exchanged personal info with John prior to the 28th of January. Chris went on to say that earlier in the day, John came into D&E Pizza with his adopted son, Patrick. Oh, I didn't want to talk to him. Chris shared with us that he had plans to go to CF's or the Waterfall later in the evening. Julie texted John that she was at Waterfall around 8:45 p.m., telling him to get down there. At 10:41, Julie sent the last text to John, and shortly after, John and Karen walked into the bar. Okay. The other questions that I have are, why are Julie and Jen the ones that are texting John all the time? I have questions about that, but okay. So Julie's texting John, Jen is texting John, and she's saying they don't show up until after 10:41. 3, Julie remembered that as John and Karen walked into the bar area, Karen pulled a drink out of her jacket and sat it onto the high top table. John offered to get Karen a new drink, but neither Chris nor Julie remember whether he followed through with it. Shortly after this, Julie developed a migraine and left the bar to go home. Chris stayed behind with the rest of the group for a few more drinks. Chris told us that he purchased a round of shots, Fireball whiskey, for the group, but was not sure exactly who drank theirs and who did not. Chris told us John was drinking Bud Lights during the evening. Chris told us that John actually got Karen the same drink she brought in, which he assumed was vodka, soda, water. Number 4, Chris stated that when he walked out of the Waterfall Bar and Grill, he remembers John and Karen walking in the opposite direction of his path and suspects that he walked right and the couple walked left on Washington Street. Chris recalls John being dressed in a baseball cap, gray sweatshirt, and jeans. When asked about the drink that Karen brought into the waterfall, Julie told us it was a taller, cylindrical shaped glass with a lime in it. Both Julie and Chris agree on that Karen was not shit-faced and that John is always reserved. Julie told us jokingly, John and she had a conversation about a block party since the Alberts moved away, and that John, was not intoxicated, and Karen was, quote, totally herself, end quote. According to both Julie and Chris, nothing about their behavior indicated that either one was drunk or even buzzed. Both held a conversation perfectly fine. When asked, Julie and Chris stated there was no arguments between anyone present at the bar in general, but specifically no issues between Karen and John. 5, Julie told us that she was asleep at 4:55 a.m. on January 29th when her phone woke her up, and it was Jen's missed call. That is how she found out about John dying. When asked, both Julie and Chris told us that John did not have any injuries to his face during the evening at the waterfall, to include tears and rips on his clothing. When asked to list everyone present at their table, Julie and Chris had mentioned everyone previously accounted for. Additionally, Chris mentioned a Greek couple that was at the end of their table. Trooper Proctor since has positively identified the two and scheduled an interview with them. Without having any more information to provide, Trooper Proctor and I concluded our interview of Julie and Chris. We thanked them for their time and left the residence without incident. Okay, so everybody so far is saying that Karen wasn't drunk. They're saying that Karen wasn't drunk, and yet they find probable cause to arrest her for drunk driving, leaving the scene of an accident, vehicular manslaughter, and then they wind up upgrading it to murder charge. I have so many questions. I have so many questions. And then, so let's go to the chat. 4:55 a.m. Right. That's when she called her. That's like when Karen allegedly calls Jen. And then there's a whole bunch of delay that happens before they actually go to 34 Fairview to find the body. I got questions. But I want to show you the house because there's a lot of questions about the layout of this house. So let me just pull that up for a sec. We love to look at Zillow on this channel, don't we? So let's look at Zillow because this house was listed for sale and sold. After this happened in the front lawn. Let's take a look, shall we? Here it is. It's 34 Fairview. This is what the exterior of the home looks like. Or looked like when it was put up for sale. You could see that there's a storm door with a glass panel, 2 glass panels here. And the door behind it is solid. So anybody who is looking through the door, if this is the way that the house appeared on the date of the incident, would have to, that solid door would have had to have been open. And I would say that from there, it's a pretty good view of, well, you can't really see it in this picture, but over here is where his body was found. Let's see if there's any better pictures in this listing. Not really. His body was found over here more to the left. You can see the driveway. Sold for $905,000, 5 bedrooms, 4 baths, 2,366 square feet. Let's go back. I just want to check the date of sale. Here's some pictures of the interior. There's been a lot of talk about the basement flooring being ripped up. So let me just go to the portion of the basement. I think this is the basement. I don't know if anybody knows for sure, but looks like new carpet. And new paint. At the time the house was listed, if this is the basement, if this is indeed the basement, I do not want to spread any misinformation, but that's what it looks like to me. And this also probably is in the basement in a weight room. A lot of weights, that sort of like rubber flooring. That's like squares, I think. Looks like that. Backyard. There's a lot of talk about the pool being filled up. The pool that was being filled in was not their pool. I believe it was the brother's pool. You can correct me on that if that's wrong, but since I want to be fact-based, I believe one of the Albert brothers did fill in their pool, but it was not the pool at 34 Fairview. So it was actually sold in April of 2023. You know, Zillow's always not 100% accurate with regard to when it was put on the market. So I think it was put on the market sometime around November 22, perhaps. Yeah, it was listed for sale November 17th of 2022, according to Zillow. For $949, there was a pending sale in February, and then it finally closed in April of 2023. This is from what I understand, this was a house that had been in the family for generations. Right? Okay. People who are familiar with the house are saying the pictures make the house look, picture makes the lawn look bigger. It's not in person. It's much smaller. You could not miss a body. Market, no disclosure of murder. You know, the laws vary from state to state, whether or not you have to say that there was a crime committed. When I was in Boulder recently, the JonBenet Ramsey house is up for sale again. I don't believe they have to disclose that. In fact, they've changed the address of that house several times because of, you know, grief tourists and looky-loos. And because if anybody Googles that address, they'll know that that's where the JonBenet Ramsey crime happened. And they don't want that. All right, so we looked at Ryan Nagel. We didn't look at there was one that we were still Nicole, right? All right, let's look at Nicole's statement. And then we'll be done for tonight because that's a lot. And we got hockey to watch, you guys. Oh my goodness, we only have 20 minutes until the Ranger game. So hang on. Hang on a second. Because we'll come back tomorrow at 4 p.m. I'll schedule it. You can sign up, hit the bell. We got so much more to go through. I want to go through the defense's statement of the case. So one last witness statement, because these are all the witness statements that I am in possession of currently. So we're going to look at this. This is Nicole Albert's statement. It was taken on, it's dated February 23rd. It was taken on February 3rd, which again was several days after the incident of January 29th. And Nicole Albert is the homeowner at 34 Fairview, married to Brian Albert, sister of Jennifer McCabe. I know it's confusing. Oh, my kids want to have a Golden Globes watch party, so we got to get to that too. So, all right, here we go. On February 3rd, 2022, at approximately 5:20 p.m., Trooper Proctor and I traveled to 34 Fairview Road in Canton for a pre-scheduled interview with Nicole Albert at her residence. So they did go into the residence at some point. This is new information for me. They went there to take Nicole Albert's statement. Through our investigation into the death of John O'Keefe, Nicole had been identified as a witness present with a group of friends at Waterfall Bar and Grill on January 28th, 2022. Nicole is also the resident with her husband, Brian, who invited some friends and family back to 34 Fairview Road in Canton following the bar closing for the night and was a witness to events outside the home. The following is a summary of information requested and provided by Nicole during that interview with Trooper Proctor and me. Just a summary, because why would we record it or take it word for word? We're just going to give everyone a summary and hope that they're okay with it. I don't know. It's not the way that we do things here. No, I don't want that. I want that. Number 2, after being invited into the home by Nicole and her husband, Brian, Trooper Proctor and I formally introduced ourselves and thanked both of them for their time. Nicole began by saying that she does not know Karen and never had met her prior to the 28th of January. She had met John O'Keefe once or twice out in a social setting. Nicole shared that she was aware that John had recently moved near her sister's home and only knew him as Kay's uncle. On the night of January 28th, Nicole stated that she met her sister Julie, daughter T, and her boyfriend out at dinner at approximately 7:30 p.m. at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. Approximately 9 p.m., Jen and Matt McCabe met the Nicole and Julie at the bar, and then approximately 10 p.m., Brian came out after his return from New York City. At approximately 11 p.m., Nicole remembered that John and Karen came into the bar and were positioned on the opposite end of the high top table from the group was occupying. Nicole recalled John coming over once and asking if they wanted anything from the bar. Nicole stated that John was wearing sneakers, jeans, and a hat. At approximately midnight, Nicole stated that she left the Waterfall and was met at her home by her sister, Jen McCabe, brother-in-law, Matt McCabe, and husband, Brian. Nicole went on to say that all the guests left her home an hour later at approximately 1 a.m. on the 29th of January. Jen McCabe said she left at 1:30 in one of her statements. Am I right? I don't know. I'm just going on my faulty short-term memory from having read that statement a few minutes ago, but I thought she said 1:30. Nicole's saying 1 a.m. Everybody left, but nobody saw a dead body on the lawn. I'm just pointing it out. For later on during the morning hours of January 29th, 2022, Nicole stated that she was still in bed when her sister Jen came into the room and shared with Nicole what had transpired outside and that John was found deceased on the edge of her property by the street in the snow. Nicole stated that she never left her home, and by the time she came downstairs, Canton Fire Department must have transported both John and Karen from the scene. She never left her home. 5. According to Nicole, there were no fights, arguments, or altercation at any time during the night between anyone present at Waterfall or her home at 34 Fairview Road in Canton. Nicole stated that everything was fine, and she remembered John talking to her sister Jen at the bar. Nicole did not observe any injuries on John while he was present at the bar. Nicole shared that her and Brian walked out of Waterfall prior to John and Karen, that the two were still in the bar at the time. When asked about the utility box at the edge of her property near the flagpole where John was found, Nicole stated that it had been open and slightly damaged for a long time prior to January 28th, 2022. 6, directing her attention to her home following the waterfall, Nicole stated that she did not hear any arguments, noises coming from outside of her home, and that neither John nor Karen came into the home at any point. Nicole went on to say that she was not even aware that her sister Jen had even invited John and Karen to the house following the waterfall. Without having any additional information to share with Trooper Proctor and me, we thanked Nicole for her time and concluded the interview. What is this business about the utility box at the edge of the property? When asked about the utility box at the edge of her property near the flagpole where John was found, Nicole stated it had been open and slightly damaged for a long time prior to January 28th of 2022. What say you, my chat friends? Because I want to know what significance that utility box has before we wrap for the evening. Was there an indication that he may have tripped and fell on that if he was outside looking for waiting for an Uber or something, that he tripped and fell because there was a dislodged utility box outside? She's saying it was broken for a long time. Were they trying to say that Karen, when she hit him, ran over that thing and dislodged it, and she put the kibosh on that because she said, no, that was broken for a long time prior to that? I need some help. Why was that even mentioned there? It's first mention that I'm seeing. First you heard of it too, Janice? Right. Maybe somebody said it was damaged when she ran him over, but now the homeowner's saying it was damaged for a long time. It had been open and slightly damaged for a long time. Maybe they're going to try and blame the head injury on that. That's interesting, Lindsay. Yes, Kevin Keene, dead cop found on a lawn. They didn't investigate the home where the body was found. In fact, in none of these witness statements is there any indication that he is a police officer. And that is important in New York anyway, because if you kill a police officer, you get brought up on more serious charges, right, my friends? So what? Kay O'Brien's never heard this before either. So am I laying something knowledge on you guys that you all didn't know? So what up? Utility box is zero significance. Yeah, but Proctor and Buchanan thought that it was very, very important to ask about. Utility box, Fiona says, utility box was first spoken about regarding the taillight. I believe that's where the pieces were found. Not by the Canton PD, who first arrived on the scene. Not until 12 hours later, after another foot of snow had fallen, were those pieces on top of the snow. Strains credulity. I'm just saying, strains my credulity, but you know. Where is all the blood if he hit his head on the utility box? Yeah, I have questions. I have so many questions. Yeah, Lana, he was off duty, right? But even if you're off duty, if you kill a police officer, the charges in New York are upgraded anyway. So I don't know what. Boy, you guys, do we have? I wonder how tall he was. I think he was 6'1". If she hit him with the SUV, he would need to be very short to only be hit in the face. Yeah, this whole thing is just. I have questions. I have so many questions. But we also have hockey to watch tonight, you guys. So we're going to do that. We're going to reconvene tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern for any of you who would like to come back. And I just want to make sure that I thanked everyone, which I believe that I did. Feel free to leave comments and questions in the comments, and I love to read them and respond to them. But again, be kind. No bullying, no foul language, no attacking each other or anyone else in the chat for their opinions. And yeah, we're going to keep going, Janice. We got to keep going. We can't stop now. Scott, I know, Scott, you always say you don't want to come on, but you're retired law enforcement. I can only say how they do it in New York. With my 30 years experience as an attorney here and having looked at lots and lots of witness statements and lots of investigative reports, thousands and thousands and thousands of documents. Yeah, leaf blowers. I heard something about that, John Fairbairn, too. They use some leaf blowers to look for evidence. The leaf blowers in this neighborhood where I live are so loud that I can hear them when they're 3 blocks away. That's how loud the leaf blowers. They wake me up. How come Nicole didn't wake up from the leaf blowers? I'm sure that they were gas-powered leaf blowers, and those things are loud. I'm just saying. I have so many questions. I didn't go through the autopsy report. I have to find it and go through it. But what I want to do today, but we don't have enough time, is go through the Commonwealths. I keep wanting to say state, but it is the Commonwealth. Their statement of the case, and there's so much more to go. I want to know about the electrical box too. If she hit him with his car, how did he get his face beat up? It's just, and I find it interesting how 2 of the witnesses all of a sudden are mentioning these 3-point turn tire tracks in the snow. If his body was found 12 feet from the curb, she would have had to have driven onto the lawn, backed up onto the lawn. And if there was snow, my friends, I submit to you that there would be mud tracks, tire tracks that would have been left there if she backed up and then lurched out and hit him and left him there on purpose. Why were there no tire tracks found during the scene investigation? I don't know. Wouldn't that be something they would note in their report aside from the broken cocktail glass and the 6 blood samples that were collected in solo cups? But apparently, Canton PD was incompetent. They didn't find the other sneaker or the taillight pieces that were only found by the state troopers who came back 12 hours later. I got a lot of problems with this. Yeah, I got a lot of problems. Yeah, that's true. Lucky the dog has been rehomed. The family dog has been rehomed, allegedly. Chloe. I have a friend who is a cadaver dog trainer, trains dogs for a living. Looked at those photos and said 100%. Those are defensive wounds from an attack of a canine with 100% certainty. So I have questions. They threw the phone to Karen's last location. Then at 3, they threw him out there. That's when Lucky saw the Ford Edge. Lucky is the snowplow driver. We're going to dig into his statements too. He's another non-party witness. Boom, says Ashley. Boom. A lot of people surmise that Chloe might be at the bottom of that pool. I don't know. Listen, dog DNA is a thing. There's DNA tests that you can do for your dog. And even though Jennifer Coffendorfer said the other night on Court TV that the tissue samples were done of John O'Keefe's arm and that they determined that there was no canine DNA, I found evidence to the contrary that they were not done. The samples were lost. The tissue was not tested. It wasn't done. So tick, tick, boom, tick, tick, boom. Have you ever seen a case ridiculous? No. 30 years I've been handling cases. I've seen corruption at the highest levels inside the Catholic Church, inside the Suffolk County PD. I have seen a lot. And when Jennifer Coffendorfer said, because I surmise that, yes, this could be a cover-up, but it could actually happen. It really could. It really could. It's really not beyond. It doesn't strain credulity to think that it actually could happen. I've seen it happen. Who is Karen Reed? Who is Karen Reed? Why would anybody frame her? She's nobody. Karen Reed is you. Karen Reed is me. Karen Reed is your sister, your daughter, your mother. Karen Reed could be any one of us. That's who Karen Reed is. So we'll wait for more info because we're going to dive deep into this tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be here for it, and I hope you will too. Please smash the like button on your way out. Thank you to my moderators for keeping the chat classy. Thanks to all of you for participating and for keeping it classy. To my channel members, my viewers, my replay viewers, I love you, and I couldn't do this without you. So everyone, just remember, be cool, be kind, be classy. It's not hard. Peace out, my friends. I will see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.